Do you remember when we first met? I thought my eyes would fall straight out of my head. Guess we all living proof of love at first sight. But now we both see love in a different light. Keeping love alive, it's a tricky thing. You gotta let it fly, gotta give it wings. If you wanna make it right, don't let it fry. Don't hold on too tight, you know you gotta try. Keeping love alive. Keeping love alive. Keeping love alive. Still here we are, my friend, over 10 years down the road. 3 kids in a big old house, can't weigh a heavy load. Life, gotta give it to you, don't know how you found the time. Making all ends meet while running down that line. Keeping love alive, it's a tricky thing. You gotta let it fly, you gotta give it wings. If you wanna make it right, don't let it fly. Don't hold on too tight, you know you gotta try. Keeping love alive. Keeping love alive. You know you gotta try. Keeping love alive.
Hello and welcome there, champions, to this week's ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup. It is the last broadcast cup before the holidays, before Christmas, before New Year's, before whatever else you may happen to celebrate, regardless of where you are in the world. My name is Iraz Vox. I am joined today by the Absurd Gamer as well as Unexceptional a little bit later on, but to start things off, Absurd, how you doing?
I am doing amazingly, and I'm excited to see OB64 right now.
That's right, everybody. This is the first bit of competitive play that we're going to be seeing on the patch of OB64. Now, I do have a quick confession to make before we go any further. Now, I will be commentating for the Paladins World Championship coming up at HRX, the Hi-Rez Expo, between January the 4th to January the 8th. Actually, the 3rd if you're watching the online stage of play as well, the first part of our group play. Don't want to be missing that out at all. But that cup is actually going to be played on OB63, so my confession is that I've not been playing a great deal of OB64 so far. I've been mostly just keeping up my studying with OB63 and getting more info where I can with how the meta is changing between the last LAN and this LAN with the players and what the balance changes mean and all of that. So, Absurd, you're kind of my guide for today, which is what I'm really looking forward to, because there are a lot of interesting changes, which we won't go into right now because there are a few too many to cover in great detail, but we'll talk about them as and when we really encounter them in-game. For the time being, though, let's go ahead and take a look at our bracket for today and see exactly what matches will be coming up. Tell me, what teams are we seeing in the semi-finals and up this week?
Well, it looks like we are going to see the first set is Team Cryptic versus Straight Outta Casuals, which is what we're going to jump into in a minute, but second set is going to be Gangstars versus Rebel Gaming.
Fantastic stuff. All familiar teams for those of you who have been watching for a little while. And as a quick reminder, folks, whilst we are playing on Cards Unbound, we are actually playing in the competitive standard, the Bound mode in Paladins. It's an option you can enable in custom games, just like your classic modes and just like your ranked modes as well, your ranked Siege. This, by default, sets all levels of every single card in game, including legendaries, to level 4, regardless of what rank you actually own them at in game, which standardizes play across the competitive platform and really decreases the level of accessibility, or increases accessibility, decreases the level of entry that you need, because regardless of whether you have that card at a specific level, you're not going to be at a competitive advantage in-game because you're all on the same playing field. With that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at our map draft for map number 1. So we know that we've got Team Cryptic versus Straight Outta Casuals coming up on screen. Talk to me about map bans to start things off, and then talk to me a little bit about where we're going to be going. That, excuse me, is the wrong, I think that's actually last week if I'm not mistaken. The map draft not updated there. Actually, that was OB32, goodness me. Or not OB32, that was cup number 62. We'll get that updated in just a second. You should have the correct one on the clean feed there. Team Cryptic versus Straight Outta Casuals, map number 1 coming up on your screen right now. There we go. Okay, tell me what we're looking at.
Well, it looks like to start things off, the first ban away is going to be Splitstone Quarry, which is a little bit weird considering that we haven't seen too many Splitstone Quarry maps, but it is a relatively new map, so I would understand why people aren't going to be that familiar with it. And the second map, though, is Jaguar Falls.
Okay, so we're moving through there with those bans. Jack Falls is not a map that we see often banned out. Very compact, very small. Maybe something to do with what's currently new and what's currently meta, maybe. Or just a personal team preference ban, as that was SOC's ban. So, Frog-Isles, where are we going first? Any specific champion picks you think are going to be coming out now in this OB64 patch on this map?
Well, we've seen a lot of change to a lot of different characters. Talus has received a little bit of a card change around, so I would say that he is very viable. I'm excited to see him, but also Kinessa with her new teleporter legendary. She probably will be played throughout these games, and I'm expecting to see her a lot.
Gotta go fast is maybe the mantra of the day then. Let's go ahead and head on through to our champion draft and check out exactly what champions will be being brought to the realm in this very first look at competitive play on OB64. So Team Cryptic, they're starting off with the first pick, first ban here. They're going to go ahead and looks like they're going to take away Bomb King to start things off. So Bomb King, especially with our new legendaries, can be very strong. Across the way though as well, it does appear that we've got a Makoa ban coming through. And actually, no, it looks like that was a mistake. That should be a Cassie ban. That is updated now to reflect that appropriately. So talk me through these bans. Why might these champions be taken off the playing field already?
So, Cassie is a huge pickup for any team right now because of Deep Breath. I think the legendary is called, excuse me if I'm wrong, and she is allowed to gain a lot of damage over distance, and giving Cassie a essentially a poke sniper range will be very crucial because she has increased damage throughout range to just get her away, take her off the map, take her off the draft overall, and not allow her to get that free poke to come through. But also for a Bomb King, he has that increased poppy bomb or increased sticky bomb size, and he's able to just destroy those big tank targets while also still hitting onto the supports and the backline.
Positively box out round corners. Starting things off then, Makara is locked in as first pick, and we'll see what that's followed up by. Okay, Maldamba and a Torvald as well, and Torvald you would expect on this map. Makara as a first pick is a given, especially with Davy Jones locked in their new reset legendary. Maldamba though, this early on, why might they be prioritized like this?
You know, I don't actually know. I think that they would have gone for a damage in my opinion, but it seems like they want to go straight for a healer. They might be setting up for a double healer composition, as we've seen. That is a big change around that a lot of teams are running. And if we look back over, we're going to see Team Cryptic is going to pick up Maeve into an Ashe.
Okay, so again, a lot of changes coming in here from what we are used to in OB63, certainly, and we know that Ashe with her Slug Shoulder is a lot easier at dealing direct damage to many enemies. Maeve, though, I'm curious about, but there's the double support that you talked about a little bit earlier, Absurd. There's a Pip coming out alongside Ruckus for straight out of casuals.
Alright, so what I'm really working with is it looks like they're going to go for the 2 tank, 2 healer composition, which I haven't seen work out. Well, I haven't seen played around too much, but I was expecting a 2 healer, 1 tank, and 2 damage composition, but as in we're seeing, it looks like they're going to go straight with the Ruckus and Torvald.
And just having 2 front lines on your team makes your team a little bit more reliable, should we say, than having a single front line and double damage in this situation, just because you've got that wiggle room, you've got these bigger health pools, you can soak a bit more damage here and there, which makes it easier to recover from unfortunate situations. Janus and Ceres then for Team Cryptic do come on through, so another set of double supports. And Janus maybe playing a bit more like a damage champion with their binary star legendary right now, and Ceres with the area healing as well brings a brand new playstyle to the realm. Have to see what's taken up there. Closing things out, straight out of casuals. There it is. There's the Kinessa that you talked about beforehand. So you mentioned Kinessa's new legendary here. What exactly is that going to allow her to do, and how's that going to change her playstyle, do you think?
Well, she has some card changes as well, but also to her legendary, she's allowed to instantly teleport, and it reduces the cooldown of teleporter by, I'm guessing, I think it's 2 seconds. And with that, every time she also hits a carbine shot or a regular shot through scope, it also reduces the cooldown of teleporter. So we might see her just zooming all throughout the map.
Oh goodness me, Kinessa has got to go fast. That's something which I can't wait to see. You know, I'm a really big fan of the Bounty Hunter. She is my favorite champion in game, and I really can't wait to see if she does come out into competitive play with a bang, or if maybe it's a bit more of a fizzle, if Maeve can track her down and end her life. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere. The very first look at competitive gameplay on OB64 starts in just 2 minutes.
Check it, every day we're getting it. Hey, check it, put the place up. Yeah, we know what we made of. Can't get enough of you.
Hello and welcome back then, champions, to game number 1 between Team Cryptic and Straight Outta Casuals, starting things off here on Frog Isle. Once again, my name is Hyres Vox. I'm joined by the Absurd Gamer. Let's go ahead and take a look at our scoreboard to start things off as the legendaries are being locked in. And starting off with Team Cryptic, we've got It's Ryan playing the Leviathan Makoa, Sizzy yet to select a legendary, Music's on Slugshot Ash, Haste on Cat Burglar Maeve, Goldex on Mortal Reach Saris, and who have we got for Straight Outta Casuals?
We have Frog Blender onto the repositioned Kinessa over for the Ruckus. He's taking Aerial Assault. Onto the Pip, we see Catalyst and Sleepy taking Wakono's Curse. Megiddo onto the Thanks Grandpa for the legendaries.
Oh, Thanks Grandpa. That's one that we didn't actually talk about coming through. Now, we're so used to seeing Torval with Field Study, but an extra 2 seconds of protection could be big. But no, Music's is flanking right now. Picks up first blood on the Slugshot Ash, and 500 slams down again and again onto Erase. Now, how do you escape that? Ash is shooting across the map. That's a better sniper than Kinessa right now.
It is, and with Maeve going onto the backline, we see a lot of poke damage coming out, not only from a support or a flank, but also a tank at the same time. It seems like Cryptic is just going to be able to control this hold unless Frog Blender can find someone to snipe out.
You know, going back to OB63 a little bit as capture rises of 87%, we saw a lot of Grok really control this area where Ash is on Frog Isle due to your ability to get a lot of dismounts. With the increased range from Ash's Slugshot Legendary, it looks like she's able to do a lot of the same here. So many dismounts coming through, a lot of disruption, but the capture has come through for Team Cryptic now, and they're looking to find a couple of slays as Haste takes down a Raze. Torvald is hoisted up, pulled in, Megiddo brought in and chunked down, and that is an easy lead on this payload push.
Wow, a 2-minute already pushed it almost halfway through, and it seems like Cryptic is just going to go on to the advance. They're going in with a lot of pressure, and not only that, but they're also sitting literally at their spawn and poking them out. This is just the powerfulness and the extreme damage coming out from the Maeve and the Slugshot Ash.
And this is being really beneficial towards Team Cryptic so far. First death actually does go on to the side of Team Cryptic now as It's Ryan perishes to Frog Blender. Oh, and there's Frog Blender with a second kill onto the Kinessa, so starting to find the shots they need to enable them to actually start pulling ahead in this fight. And I feel like a lot of weight is actually placed on the Kinessa's shoulders right now to perform, otherwise Straight Outta Casuals are going to be in a very difficult spot.
As she is the only one who is considered a damage. We did see Catalyst picked up, so he is going to have a lot of poke as well. But as you were saying, the Kinessa is going to have to land these shots, and she is so essential to the poke out game throughout this map Frog Isle, which is huge for corridors and just long ranges. But we see Saris popping out the convergence to start this off.
Doesn't really pull in anybody, gets the Ruckus, but Kinessa escapes. Oh, through time and space, hits 3 players right there, takes out Frog Blender to start things off. In dives Makoa, seeing if they can follow up. It's Ryan has the anchor at the ready, looks for King D Devil, but here comes a Hyper Beam, and that's Makoa sent straight into the drink. Double kill so far for Granddaddy Torvald. Can they pull out a victory here on defense? The snipes come through from Frog Blender. There's the headshot damage. Ceres channels the heal, but Team Cryptic do retreat, and what a massive play on defense by SOC.
Wow, just the amount of ultimates that were not used there, but also onto the side of Straight Outta Casuals. It looks like they get a 3-pick for just 1 ultimate. And not only that, but now Cryptic only has 15 seconds to get back onto this payload. And I don't think with their offense, they're going to be able to touch.
See, the really important thing here for me is that if potentially Team Cryptic do get back in, they've got to worry about Polymorph as well as everything else. Now, King D Devil is very low on Ruckus. It's Ryan's looking for the slay. Ceres is moving in inside of Shadow Travel, but they're 1 shot away from death, and King D Devil should end their life there. Damage slaps down from Erase as well, and that's a double kill to the Pip as the Catalyst bonus damage comes in true. Team Cryptic don't get the push. SOC defends successfully. Let's check out our items between rounds and take a look at the damage chart as well to see exactly where these players are standing.
Wow, Kinessa with 36k damage already at the start of the game. That's huge.
That's pretty significant. So despite Team Cryptic taking the early advantage there, Kinessa's still performing well with a lot of damage.
Yeah, and it looks like Ash isn't too close to anybody else. She's actually very far down on the charts, but it seems like she has that pressure through Slug Shot and is keeping the side of Cryptic just poked out throughout, or the side of Straight Outta Casuals poked out throughout these team fights.
Yeah, I don't think that Ash's damage number is really reflecting the amount of zoning she's doing right now. Looking at the items real fast, Cryptic going into the level 2 Cauterize, but getting some resilience online. I like Erase going into the immediately though. Instead, the morale boost looking for the damage. Hexafire on the backline from King D. Devil tries to shut down. It's Ryan, but no, that's the Ancient Rage coming through, and that will save their life momentarily. It's Ryan surges forwards, looking for the damage. Haste as well on the Maeve, tries to find a pick on his summoning the backline. A little bit of poke thrown out. Pounce to relocate, gets sniped in the face, so has to retreat as Frogblender is looking for them. The Oppressor Mind's doing work. Instant transport back to safety. The pressure continues.
Seems like Cryptic is very set up onto the side, and here comes Pip's Evil Mojo popping it out through. It's going to have a 1-for-1 trade at the moment. Great hook in by Makoa, and the pressure is going to keep on by Cryptic. They have 60% onto this capture point, and Straight Outta Casuals has to touch at some time.
Really major play that happened right there. Evil Mojo came out. Ceres ulted immediately in response, drawing a lot of attention away from the chickens, which could have otherwise easily be shut down. There's Cryptic with the second capture of the game, as they had managed to force Straight Outta Casuals back towards base, and we'll see if this time they're able to push the payload through. They made a lot of headway last time, but thanks to the Torvald ultimate, weren't able to get the payload through. What do Cryptic need to do differently this time to not be taken really for a fall by that ult again?
Well, I think what they really need to do is work together, not group up around this objective, especially when they have one dedicated healer. With Goldex being able to sit back and just stick onto this payload, the rest of the team of Cryptic can really go onto that aggressive pressure and poke out the backline, especially the Kinesso, who's been raining free fire from behind.
She's got a lot of pressure unmitigated so far. 52,000 damage on the charts right now and rising, and she keeps on finding shots. Pip's looking for some damage. Ash says, halt, let's fight right here, and tries to assert their dominance around the peripheral of this fight. Not much pressure really gained from that ult so far, and Evil Mojo is ready and charging, but the payload's pushing further and further forwards. Somebody's got to get a shutdown on a Team Cryptic right about now. Straight Outta Casuals, who's it going to be to make the plays?
Well, we saw Megiddo use his Hyper Beam, and it was canceled out through the side, but here goes Ash trying to stay alive. He is able to pop out one onto the side, and it's a 1-for-1 trade at the moment. Pip is going to fall to Sizzy into the backline, and we see Goldex is going to be advanced upon by Torvald and taken out. So that's one healer out from the side of Cryptic.
Problem is Team Cryptic are going forwards. Frogblender has to dive on in with Transporter to try and contest the objective. Does so for a second, ends up falling. It's Ryan is now trying to block everybody off, but it's a triple kill so far for Sizzy as Ancient Rage is used around the objective. That's a Leviathan. Makoa, they can't be polymorphed. It doesn't matter as Erase has already fallen. Team Cryptic push it on through as it's Ryan takes down King D Devil. That's a 3-1 lead at 8 minutes and 3 seconds in. Team Cryptic, they're 1 point away from winning.
They're taken with the objective, and the pressure that they're thrown onto the front line is huge. What Cryptic is doing so well is they're utilizing the Music's and Haze's damage and poke ability throughout Maeve and Slugshot Ash at the moment, and with that they're able to poke down Frogblender and Erase at the same time and not allow the healing to come through for any of them, as we see Cauterize 3 is coming online.
And looking at Slugshot again here, it's a 50% faster and further shot, right? So you've got an extra half of your original shot distance added onto the end. This Ash is positively sniping right now, and add in as well the 15% bonus damage from Luminary. You've got 500 and something, I don't want to do math on the fly, damage coming through onto all enemies when Ash is effective. Maeve activates Midnight, Conversions gets thrown out, pulls in two, through time and space is channeled. Sizzy gets the shutdown onto the Pip, Erase gets erased right there. And King D Devil activates Hexafire in response, Dread Serpent as well, but it's found absolutely nobody. Straight Outta Casuals have no pressure right now. They've got to get to the objective as they're starting to fall behind on capture.
They try to turn it on, and it seems like headshots are going to be coming through for Frogblender into the backline. Music's is a little caught out and doesn't have assert dominance to stick onto this backline. Cryptic is going to sit onto this objective and has a 72% lead at the moment, but it seems like Straight Outta Casuals is going back in. Frogblender finding one, into Erase finding two. King D Devil is able to pick up a third, and Straight Outta Casuals is going to aggress onto this payload.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that SOC just turned that around. What happened there? Team Cryptic looked like they had it in the bag. Was that all Frogblender, or was there something else going on?
It seems like Music's was a little bit caught out into the backline. he looked for a lot of poke and damage to come through, but didn't have the assert dominance to touch onto this objective. Hyper Beam is going to throw Ash straight off the edge during her ultimate.
Beautiful play. SOC get the capture right there. And once again, SOC finding a victory here. Really importantly for capture this time, not defense, but with Hyper Beam again. So when Megiddo's in position, they're really starting to make big plays. Going into conversion, they have the opportunity to tie things up with Team Cryptic 3-3 if they can push the payload on through. What do SOC need to do for conversion here? What's their win condition?
They have a lot of win conditions if they're able to utilize the ultimates. That is the huge part of their combo, and it seems like Ruckus is going to do just that, popping it into the back line of Cryptic, and it's a 1-for-1 trade as Race is able to get one, but Ryan hooks in to the Torvald, and it seems like that might just be where Megiddo falls.
Mid-air shot into Haze, Erase chases down the Makoa, immediate deletion as Frog Blender activates the Headhunter, finds the critical shot onto Genos. One more will do it, but Erase gets credit for that kill. Maldamba has overextended. Goldex around contests the objective. Ceres is being slowed. Maeve's diving into the backline, but Erase turns things around onto them as well. Double kill for Pip, keeping things in their favor. 43% on the ultimate charge, but now being forced back little by little. Straight out of Casuals, found a couple of important kills, but couldn't get the payload through just yet.
And it seems like they're going to have to retreat. They have 1 minute and 10 seconds to get back onto this objective, and it's pushed 75% all the way, or already. So straight out of Casuals is going to have to look for some sort of pick on. And since they're onto the aggressive side, and Frog Blender has that free range to poke down, she really could snipe out someone into the backline. And we see this starting off with Haze getting the first kill.
That's not good for straight out of Casuals right now. They've got to find the pickoffs here, but they're being slowly bullied out. And even though you've got that sniping potential from the back of the map right here, Musics is actually the one to really start dominating this Kinessa from distance behind their siege shield and just chipping them down little by little with Slug Shot. SOC starting to retreat. 30 seconds left on the clock as we just heard the announcer call. There's a good pull from It's Ryan, doesn't find, or excuse me, yeah, the Makoa It's Ryan, doesn't find a kill. Straight to Casuals, have one last chance to re-engage. Who are you looking at to make plays here?
I'm looking at Torvald as he has that Hyper Beam set up. He just needs to find the correct position and angle to get this coming through. It seems like the side of Cryptic is already set up if they can get that to come through, but it's really about when he pulls that trigger.
They've dumped the double shield onto Ruckus right there, admits it, and protection being popped in one go. It's Ryan, doesn't find the Dreadjank. You've got to remember that this new legendary for Torvald, it makes them CC immune for the duration of protection for up to, I think, 4 seconds at this point. Overtime is ticking, the payload is pushing. Who's going to make it through? Megiddo gets brought down very, very low. Team Cryptic are starting to gain an advantage here. Even trade so far, though.
And it seems like we're going to find as Musics goes onto the backline, able to pick a 1, move on to 2, but Erase is going to get 1 in return. Musics going in with the pressure. She's going to have to stay alive and actually void gripped into the air. We find King D Devil not able to touch this payload and get that overtime tick to come through.
That was a beautiful play right there at the end. Void grip perfectly, as you said, keeps him out of range. Really good trigger discipline on the crowd control from Sizzy, making sure that they're not just wasting that cooldown, but using it effectively. And that's what sets apart sometimes these little min-max elements, sort of really good players from your top tier in region players. Great performance so far from Team Cryptic. Now tell me about the resilience prioritization from Team Cryptic here as we look at the items real fast between rounds.
So as we're going over the resilience, it seems like they want to mitigate the Erase ult that's going to come out for Pip, but also Sleepy's just Dread Servant overall. But Megiddo has that Hyper Beam, has that silence to come through on his kit, and all of those will be denied if they're running the Resilience 3 at the same time.
So far, so good. While Team Cryptic start to take control, here's Maeve calling down Midnight. Torvald activates Hyper Beam, but it doesn't find anybody yet so far. Evil Mojo used as well. Frog Blender takes down Haze. Good start for straight out of Casuals, mitigating a couple of ultimates, and Frog Blender goes in deep. Finds the headshot damage on Ash, snipes it out of the air. Is this straight out of Casuals turnaround? No, fantastic! Through time and space comes through onto the back of a convergence pull. There's the wombo combo that we wanted to see, but SOC is still capturing as they have split apart the opposing teams. Maeve re-engages, looking for the Kinessa. Dread Serpent comes through to peel, but there's the Resilience 3 really mitigating all of that. The pounce damage comes through, so much pressure. Haze and It's Ryan get the kill onto Slappy, and this is Team Cryptic back in control.
A hook in by it's Ryan onto this side of Megiddo, and he's going to be caught out of position. We find Ryan going in with the aggressive Ancient Rage, and he's going to be utilizing this to the full potential. It is 72%, and rising for Cryptic. Straight out of casuals only have one more chance to touch this objective.
87, 90%. Pip tries to go around the corner, but Erase is erased right there, and Team Cryptic, they get it right at the end as Ceres emotes on the objective. That's the win in map number 1, and that is Frog Isle falling the way of Team Cryptic 4-2.
And as we look over, we can find Frog Blender rolling through the charts with 109k damage. That is huge for a Kinessa setup, and not only that, but also a repositioned Kinessa that is not going to have any extra damage boost throughout her legendary cards.
And as we do just have to remark on the fact that, that's right folks, you can hear the Rave Mave audio in the background. We'll get that turned off for our subsequent games. It's fun to hear it whilst it's in-game, but as that is now persisting into our scoreboard screen, we'll make sure that that is actually disabled for the time being. But looking back at the scoreboard again, really good performance from the Kinessa, but not enough to turn the tide. So whilst they're dealing a lot of damage, SOC didn't find it seemed like the most important kills or positioning at the last point. What went so right for Team Cryptic there? What did they do well?
Well, what they really utilized was their pressure. Musix and Hayes both knew when to engage and advance onto the backline. It seems like Frog Blender, even with the reposition and an instant teleport, just didn't have the correct either positioning or was a little bit caught out into the backline as the whole side of Straight Outta Casuals was just dominated and bared down on throughout this whole play. And it seemed like we tried to look for a pick-off here and there between Frog Blender and a race going into the backline, but at the same time, Cryptic just grouped up so well around this objective and put on the pressure when it was necessary.
And a lot of that was through really key ultimates as well, such as Ancient Rage and that wombo combo at the end through time and space and convergence. With Ceres' new legendaries and Sizzy coming in big with that ult, I think that there's a lot of potential for these double support combos to do a lot of work moving forwards. Speaking of moving forwards though, map number 1, as we have remarked, went to Team Cryptic in 4-2 style. Let's head over to our map draft and have a look at where we're going to be going for map number 2, and it appears to be absurd. Serpent Beach.
Ooh, Serpent Beach, a map that I have not seen too much play on just yet, but the real, not key, but the real look that I'm looking at when it comes to this map, it's how people are going to utilize the essential nerfs to not only mobilization, excuse me, I am all over the place, but also
don't worry, we call that doing a Vox.
But also how teams are going to be utilizing flanks onto the backside, because we haven't seen that work around just yet, as flanks are going to be getting a little bit of a mobile debuff, I would say.
Got you. Yeah, that's come with the sort of decrease from some of the maximum sort of reset cards you've seen, such as Eevee's Killing Frost now, locked to rank 4, doesn't provide you with a 100% cooldown reset to soar on getting a kill, and little things like that do pull flanks up, maybe, should we say, more in line with where they should be, as opposed to some of the wacky plays that we have seen in the past. But in order to determine exactly how this game will go from the very get-go and really give our predictions, we've got to go through to the champion draft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and have a look at the champion draft for map number 2 and see where these players will be taking their positions, if we're going to see more double support come out in full force, or if maybe they've got a little something different up their sleeves. We take a look on through. Here's Team Cryptic. They've got the first pick, first ban, SOC to respond in second. First ban does come through. Bomb King taken off the table. Makoa in response as well. I think that SOC, that feels like a respect ban to me, wouldn't you say?
It's Ryan is a very, very good Makoa. We've seen so many hits coming through, and we also saw a lot of play. I don't think maybe you tuned in between the Holiday Bash, but that was Ryan really popping off with Makoa, getting hooked at all essential moments, and his Makoa is just so dominating on the realm.
Now, as we do appear to be going through, and the Holiday Bash, I did indeed tune in for a little bit of that. It was a great pleasure to see you, of course, and I hold shift casting there. But The next couple of picks coming through, SOC take Torvald and Buck, and I do just want to let you know, Absurd, we do appear to have a connection issue on your end with your voice there. It turned into slightly robotic, so we'll see if that improves moving forwards. Next couple of picks to come on through, though, from Team Cryptic are Ash and Maeve, and tell me, have you finished going through your tunnel just yet, or are we still stuck in limbo?
Am I still stuck as a robot?
I think we're good enough right now. I think we're getting a little bit better, so talk to me about these picks so far. Cassie to start things off is a big one, but then Ash and Maeve that Team Cryptic had so much success with on Frogile coming through again. This is really foreboding for SOC.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go in with the aggressive backline once again. Ash and Maeve, as we saw, they were a huge and essential part into the side of Cryptic last game, getting that poke to come through, but also now they have Cassie on their side. So the long range poke out between Team Cryptic is going to be very essential. So SOC has to capitalize on some sort of gap closer.
And a lot of that I think will come from Buck. Really important to remember that if Torvald's running their new legendary, CT immunity during protection be huge on Buck. You just can't shut them down once they dive into the backline. Sure, they might not have the damage amp that we're used to be seeing, but especially if this is a recovery Buck as well, which was the OB62, OB63 meta, then that could be very devastating. Hell, if that's a Buck Wild as well, but Buck with their new legendary that restarts the duration of their ultimate every time you get an elimination, my goodness, that could be dangerous. Closing things out though for Team Cryptic, let's take a look at their last couple of picks here, and that is an Eevee double flank and damage coming through. Solo frontline Ash. Tell me about that.
Well, it looks like they are going to go in with the double flank. I haven't seen too much work around or play. As we just talked about, flanks were kind of nerfed to their mobility throughout cards, but as it seems, Team Cryptic is going to pick up Eevee, and Genos is also going to provide a lot of healing onto the backline, able to work around walls and also keep the flanks alive without actually sort of babysitting them throughout each play. With Maldamba, you're going to have to hit these heals, but when it comes to the side of Team Cryptic, they're going to be able to just pop it through walls. And over to the side of SOC, we actually see Kinessa coming out for the last pickup.
So they're going with if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I do appreciate the fact that they've got double damage online rather than double support this time. We saw last game, I think, how the heavy crowd control investment from SOC was very much countered by resilience last time. This time around, sure, there's a Buck, and you can reduce their net shot sort of slow duration, but at the end of the day, I think that straight out of casuals, their loadout seems more balanced to me right now. What they're lacking in, though, is mid-range damage, and I don't know how they're going to really be able to respond to that.
Yeah, as we said, gap closers is a huge and essential part of the kit. I find that Torvald, if he is able to get out the protection shields at the exact time that they should be used, we might see Bug and Kinessa surviving throughout these pushes, but Team Cryptic has such an aggressive playstyle between their whole team, they might just capitalize over straight out of casuals throughout this game.
Now, folks, map number 2 will be coming up shortly. It is Serpent Beach, as has been previously discussed. Just before we cut to a short break and get our things synced up in the sort of the back end here, I do just want to acknowledge the fact that, yes, we've got a couple of audio issues going on Absurd's end with the microphone right now, and maybe a connection difficulty. And I have had reports that the stream frame rate is a little bit low right now at times. So what we're going to do is take a quick look into that behind the scenes. We'll have the gameplay coming up as soon as possible. 5-minute timer on the clock rather than the 2-minute that you're used to here, just to make sure that we can get everything resolved. We'll be back before you know it with the best quality stream possible. We'll see you in just a second.
Just got up, something's wrong. I waited up with wounds on my feet. Where will you be? Flickering through memories, the Polaroids yellowed in the sun, longing to be seen. So come and hide, hide with me, hide with me, hide with me. Come and hide, hide with me, hide with me, hide with me. Stars are bright, I called you up just to hear your voice on the machine. Nothing will be like it was, but you will always be my first choice, just as it seems. Hide with me. Hide with me. Hide with me. So come on.
Hello and welcome back there, champions, to map number 2 between Team Cryptic and Straight Outta Casuals. Team Cryptic, actually, despite what you see on screen, leading currently 1 game up in the set. We'll get that fixed between rounds. Straight Outta Casuals on the other side, they're down 1. They're fighting for a chance in this best of 3 to make their way back into it. Of course, my name is Vox, joined by Absurd here today. Let's check out our legendaries once again. For Team Cryptic, it's Slugshot Ash running by. It's Ryan this time. Haste on Wormhole Eevee. Musics on Just Breathe. Cassie, Sizzy on Cat Burglar Maeve. Goldex yet to select their legendary.
And over to the side of Straight Outta Casuals, we see Mikito taking Thanks Grandpa under the Torvald, Slappy out of the Spirits Chosen, Maldama, King D Devil for Aerial Assault, Ruckus, Frog Blender under the Reposition, Kanessa, and finally Erased onto Bolka Buck. And as we're talking about it, Frog Blender going in with the first blood already, getting that snipe to come through.
That's a pretty huge play to really start things off, and Frog Blender picking up the Cassie that you talked about being such a detriment towards anybody they're playing against. With their ability to snipe or even counter snipe is massive right now. And look at the aggressive positioning from Straight Outta Casuals here. They're going for a huge amount of zone very early on.
And it seems like with their playstyle that they are going to be onto the aggressive back end on it once again, as we saw a Cryptic going in first round with the very aggressive and controlling playstyle. Straight Outta Casuals are kind of just mirroring this into their own playstyle, and it seems like they're going to touch it.
Oh, she barely got in there, and Wormhole does keep her safe. She can blink, and again, Eevee could keep this in contest right now. Haste is healing in their ice block right now, being healed up by Janos. There's the blink, there's the flicker coming through, chasing down towards the Kanessa right right now, but can't find the damage, and overtime once again is ticking for SOC, who are still in control. 2 minutes in, and they've already gotten the first capture of the game. This composition seems massively drafted, and Team Cryptic are yet to respond to it.
I thought Team Cryptic would have the damage output and potential to run through the rest of this game and honestly take that aggressive stance when it came to the style and play set, but it seems like they're actually onto the back foot and the back end of things when it comes to Erase and Frogblender both putting out the aggressive pressure.
Let's take a look at the damage charts right now. Currently led by Eevee here, so not what I expected to say the least, but Kanasa with 2 headshots in a row, rapidly climbing upwards of that 14k online already. Looking for more damage onto the high ground. Buck is putting out of a lot of equal pressure, now trying to chase down Goldex here, and with a couple more shots should be able to get the kill, but that is a very, very mobile and nimble Genos. Still not enough to be able to survive, and recovery and bulk up does keep them safe for the time being.
3 ultimates are online for straight out of casuals, and if they want to go in with some aggressive plays now, we can see that as Erase gets the first kill on Amusix. That's going to be 1 pick on for Cryptic, and they're going to have to work around this, but it seems like 2 are going to fall. Ryan is trying to stick onto this objective, and a triple kill actually goes down for Erase. He's going on to this back line just so easily.
His conversion coming through. Musix tries to contest, but how long can a single Cassie stand versus all 5 members of straight out of casuals? They push successfully. It's 2-0 in under 3 minutes and 30 seconds. They didn't even use any ultimates on that conversion. SOC just bullied out Team Cryptic with straight up damage and staying power.
I am so surprised because I thought Cryptic would have the bowling potential with Sizzy and Haze both onto the aggressive backliners and flanks. They should have been working around and utilizing that they have the potential, and not only that, but also the movement ability to get onto Frogblender, but it seems like they're just a little split up. Their miscommunication throughout the team is a little bit off.
You're dealing with solo frontline, right? You've got a more difficult win condition. Your win threshold is comparatively higher because you've got to perform perfectly, otherwise you'll be taken advantage of by the bigger health pools, the shielding that Team Cryptic just don't seem to have right now. Midnight though does take advantage of Erase, and there's the damage from Just Breathe. Cassie starting to come on through. Music's looking for it. The shots do end up connecting. A lot of damage from through time and space, and that's 2 quick kills on Megiddo and Slappy in a row. Team Cryptic back in control of this point fight, and with comeback mechanic 4% per tick instead of just the normal 3 to their name. They're upwards of 50% on capture already, looking for the win.
It seems like they just flanked out straight out of casuals and sandwiched them in between a position that they all wanted to be in, and now Cryptic is onto this aggressive playstyle. 93%, but it seems like they're going to be ulted out of here. Megiddo is able to find the high beam, and then he's going to go in with Buck Wild onto the front line, and here comes Ash. She is going to be picked up. Frogblender trying to touch this objective and going to kick off with Sizzy falling onto the backline. Seems like Team Cryptic is going to have to retreat away from this one.
2 big kills make that 3 in a row as Goldex bites the dust and bites the bullet in response. Team Cryptic were at 99% on the objective, but SOC, thanks to Frogblender, were able to get back in control, and now they're rising upwards of 72%. Team Cryptic only have the assert dominance left to contest, and they will use that to buy some time. Maeve looks in the backline for some damage towards this Kanasa. It's Ryan continuing to slug out. Sizzy gets stunned. Frogblender desperately trying to escape, but can't get away from those daggers. But It's Ryan falls down, and this could still be in SOC's control.
They're holding on to this position and getting onto this payload so well, and it seems like Cryptic is not going to be able to touch this. Not at all, as overtime ticks down into the favor of straight out of casuals. And now they have that set up once again. With this, they are going to get into position to bully out Cryptic once again.
SOC then take to the high ground right now. They're looking for an opportunity to get up on in, and King D Devil with the aerial assault rockets is traversing to the high ground very, very well so far. There's Eevee actually down to start things off. Scanner response. I'm not sure that SOC will even need ultimates again this time to force their way through, as Team Cryptic are crumbling like aged cheddar.
Crumbling like cookies, crumbling like aged cheddar, whatever you want to put it, but Cryptic, they are not regrouping onto this payload, and it seems like the callouts between their team are just poke down, get kills, and if it doesn't work, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, they're in a very difficult spot, and they don't have the opportunity to really recover. They don't have the threshold to be able to do so either, as they are in a great deal of trouble. Buckwild is available. Erase gets out of Cauterized Room, retreats, and Bulk Up puts them back at full health immediately. Killing spree from Megiddo so far, whilst Eevee's poking out on defense. Again, SOC have pushed the payload 90% of the way there. They're just looking for one more shot to push it on through.
As we're looking at team compositions, one thing Cryptic has and will have is the fact that Ashe can sit onto this objective without being disrupted throughout her whole entire cast of assert dominance. So if she needs to stick onto this objective, it will be essential for her to stay there. But it seems like we are going to find Cryptic going onto that aggressive side once again.
Looking for the damage here, but again, Raze is sitting in the backline right now, looking for the opportunity to maybe get a backdoor going if somebody makes the mistake of walking away. Maybe a bit of chip poke from mid-range, and there's the damage and the heal coming through as they do end up retreating. 5 ultimates available for SOC, 3 currently for Team Cryptic. What can Team Cryptic do to defend here if SOC decide to engage with everything they have in the tank?
Well, they have a lot of mobility to get around to this back line, and it seems like what they've done very well is capitalize upon one single player and pick out one, but it seems like Erase is going to go in straight on a Musix, and their front line is going to fall for Cryptic. How are they going to hold on to this position?
I don't know if they can, because down dunks Eevee. The ice block is keeping us safe momentarily. Assert dominance from Ashe will buy time, but here's the Hyper Beam, and it's Ryan gets sent flying. Perfect play there. You would think from straight out of casuals, and you would believe as they push that payload on through and tie things up in the set 1-1.
With a 4-0 coming out, it seems like casuals weren't even playing last game comparatively, because this time with the Kinessa, Frog Blender is just getting the snipes to come through. But not only that, Megiddo and King D Devil were setting up so many kills for their team for Race to just move on to the backline and kind of clean them up for himself.
Really good work there from SOC, and I think a lot of this comes down to drafting again. We've talked about why SOC succeeded with a lot of shielding, a lot of sustain on their team, and the good damage from Kinessa, but what was really holding Team Cryptic back in terms of champion draft, do you think, that last game?
I think they were a little lackluster onto the side of tanks and positioning onto the objective. If they got the picks to come through when it was necessary, and when they capitalized upon their mobility onto sandwiching straight out of casuals, then their team composition worked out very well. But at the moment, Ashe is not really a viable tank to sit alone onto that objective, as someone like Inara could have stayed on and stick to that objective for a lot longer.
Alright, she just doesn't have the same sticking power that other frontliners might have right here and right now, and while she's good at being a sort of mobile flank tank, putting on some pressure, especially from a good amount of range now, which really sort of brings her back, as it seems, to the forefront of play, where she kind of fell off after receiving some nerfs back in OB62. I'm looking forward to seeing that continue, but I do want to see more frontline diversity from the side of Team Cryptic. Moving into map number 3 now, our draft is ready. Check it out on your screen. A 4-2 for Team Cryptic, a 4-0 for SOC. Bright Marsh will be the location of our conclusion, and, well, you mentioned Inara. We all know that that's one of the favorite champions on this map, but in the new meta, in OB64, as players are still trying to figure out exactly where these champions sit, do you think that her base kit still brings enough value for pick prioritization, or is there anything stronger that might be more useful?
It seems like her kit has been worked around a little, but still her prioritization, has been so essential, especially onto maps that are enclosed like Bright Marsh, that she will be able to stick onto this objective. But one thing we might see come through is that Fernando, as his new legendary, is going to be a huge damage booster for his team.
Goodness, that's the one that turns your Flame Lance into... How do I say this appropriately? You're spewing out fireballs, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, it is also called Dragon Fire Lance.
Dragon Fire Lance. Well, we'll have to see if that comes into play. Bright Marsh,
think
maybe a location for that. So let's go ahead and take a look at our champion draft for map number 3. This is where it all gets concluded, folks. This is what it all comes down to. And the team that takes the win here will be advancing through from our semi-finals to our finals this week. First pick up, SOC this time around. They're going to take away Torvald to start things off. In response, Team Cryptic immediately draft away Cassie. This leaves a few different picks open. The Mako has been a popular first pick. We've seen a lot of Torvald plays so far today, but well, actually it's the Ruckus which comes through first of all, rather than anything else.
Wow. So we have seen a lot of play coming through on Ruckus, and the new legendary for activating 3 missiles at once. He might be a huge damage and essential pickup for the side of SOC, but as we're moving, Team Cryptic takes up the Makoa and Maeve.
The problem that I'm looking at right now though is Bomb King, banned out in the last 2 games, has now just become available and picked up alongside Maldumba as well. A lot of damage potential coming online at SOC so far. Team Cryptic, what are you looking at them to do for a response here?
Well, for a response, it seems like they are going to pick up the Genos, but also another player I would say is essential for their kit might just be picking up the Kinessa to take it away from straight out of casuals.
Is that really so viable on Brightmarsh as well, though? Actually, Buck locked in for Team Cryptic there, so moving on through. No Kinessa just yet, but do you think that SOC would still go into a Kinessa on a map that has so many line of sight breaks, or does that new legendary make it more viable with that?
I think that new legendary might make her more viable throughout this pickup, but it really depends on their playstyle, especially with Team Cryptic, if they can utilize and position it well between her kit. But also, if we're going back to the side of SOC, it seems like they are going to go with that Shaolin into Fernando pickup.
So the Fernandi talks about have to see if Dragonfire Lance comes on through, or maybe the Aegis or the Scorch that we're more used to seeing is what is a mainstay pick still. And rounding things out with Ashe drafted every single game for Team Cryptic here. It's a big part of the win condition on Frog Isle, and now we're double frontline again. We've got the Makoa Ashe Maeve combo that we saw previously. I'm looking forward to seeing what Team Cryptic are able to do with this. SOC, I feel like, again, this time around, I'm a little bit less confident in their draft. They've got a very survivable draft, certainly, and they've got a lot of damage potential, but the individual sustain on Team Cryptic is very, very large. And in 1v1 boxing matches, I think that SOC might run into a fair degree of difficulty here.
I agree there, because SOC, they have that potential to poke out from, I would say, afar with Shaolin and Bomb King, but Team Cryptic have that engage ability with the Maeve, with the Ashe, with the Buck, all once again, and if Mako is running that Davy Jones locker, then it's just going to be hook after hook and pick off. That's really where SOC has to work around in a group and a position that won't allow them to be captured upon or taken out just pick by pick.
So will SOC then full hook, line, and sinker, or will Team Cryptic be able to be taken down for a second game in a row? We'll be back in just a moment with game number 3, map number 3 of Brightmarsh in this semi-final set between Team Cryptic and SOC. We're going to see if we can get those audio issues routed out from the previous game as well, where you didn't have game sound, and we'll be back before you know it, the final map of this semi-final set. Send you the ID now. I've not put a timer up just because I don't know what went on there, but apparently I didn't have game audio in the last game. So when I swapped scenes, I think it froze the game audio.
Ooh.
Which means that what I'm going to do is very quickly set up an entire new... shit, is it that causing it? Because I had game audio in my mixer, but it wasn't being output, that's the issue. Alright, I'm paused at 9 seconds in because my game decided to not show me a mouse cursor.
Oh yeah. I'm actually paused at 9 too.
Awesome. Fantastic. And it does appear that we are apparently still having some audio going on behind the scenes. So folks, I'm not sure quite what's going on there, but as we said, we're going to try and get our audio issues sorted out. Back in just a moment. Welcome back there, champions. Is this thing on right now? Absurd. We live?
I think so.
Live
Are we?
Candy? Awesome. All right, we're in map number 3 of Brightmarsh. It's straight into Casual versus Team Cryptic. Let's take a look at our legendaries once again. New champions coming through. Still Area Assault King D Devil, but Frogblender's running Royal Subjects as their legendary. Megiddo actually with Aegis. It's interesting to see there on the other side of things. More of the same. Slugshot Luminary this time for Goldex. No, Celestial Touch actually in the end. And City sticking with Cat Burglar there. So what I'm really excited to see this time around is how the Bomb King performs specifically and how big that AoE is. Look at those sticky bombs go right there.
Ooh, just damage after damage, and without chain reaction, there is not going to be the double or extra damage coming through, but a race is going down, and getting that first blood onto Sizzy seems like Straight Outta Casual is going to take back control at this point.
In control so far, Buck retreating for the time being. Erase wasn't the objective, has now left it to supply some damage. Nobody's sitting on point currently. There we go. Straight Outta Casual's losing maybe 10, 15%, but at 54% and rising right now. The problem is, Team Cryptic are ready to surge back on forwards, and with the Makoa on the enemy team, you never want to give anybody the kind of the benefit of the doubt there. You always want to try and remain in control for as much as possible, because look where it's Ryan is, straight into contest, pulls in Slappy, and that's already Straight Outta Casuals kind of really taking this back. No, Team Cryptic really taking this back as SOC are being forced back.
Straight Outta Casuals are sitting onto this objective. Race gets a nice snipe onto the back line, but it's going to be a 2-for-1 into the side of Cryptic, and they're taking back control of this. Musix is getting that poke to come through, and now they're going on to the aggressive stance once again.
99% then to Straight Outta Casuals. Team Cryptic, 57% and rising. Musix poking out King D Devil around the outside of the map. Has their charge available. Shoulder bash used to disengage there. No damage reduction, of course, because they're running Slugshot. Megiddo's going to try and contest. The shield is up. They're holding strong. Big through time and space gets channeled. Erase trying to contest here as well. But Musix asserts their dominance and will not be moved here. 2 kills roll away very quickly. Make that 3 of Team Cryptic. And Straight Outta Casuals have no way back in. Capture to the side of TC.
Oh no, the overtime ticks down and Cryptic takes it for themselves, and with this, they're going to go in once again and keep on that pressure, keep that aggressive playstyle onto the back line, but it seems like Straight Outta Casuals, they're setting up and regrouping onto this position.
So far, so good. SOC do engage there. Dread Serpent needs to start things off, but Haze already takes out a raise. That's not a good situation. Again, the Bomb King tries to make things work, but the damage is being split between too many targets right now, and it's ineffective. Even though Frogblender is sitting, you know, in the top 4 right now on the damage charts, it's not what we'd expect. So from even maybe a chain reaction, BK.
And it seems like Slappy is a little bit caught out onto the backside. I mean, he can't get a back up onto the spawn playlist, and neither can Megiddo. So once they get onto this aggressive push, once they get to the stance, they aren't going to be able to retreat away from it.
They've got to be very careful there not to drop down until necessary, and then when they do, to make sure that they can take the fight and win. It's Ryan, currently the first member with the ultimate up for Team Cryptic. Once again on this push, tries to activate the Ancient Rage, gets shut down by King D Devil. This could be the beginning of the end of this push as Straight Outta Casuals are surging forwards, but again, they're being met with equal aggression, and despite Team Cryptic losing a member, they're not pulling back too far.
A lot of kills on the side of Cryptic, and for Straight Outta Casuals seem to be a 1-for-1 trade, and this is where they need to find out where they're going to get the picks to come through. Frogblender and Erase both have that poke potential and huge damage output. They just need to look and get the picks as Ryan gets an over the shield hook onto Erase.
Really big plays coming through so far there. Megiddo takes a lot of damage, activates Immortal. Sizzy swaps to sniping in the back of the map through time and space. His channel, King D Devil shut down. Frogblender 2, Megiddo pulled into danger. Double kill for Sizzy. Almost a triple, but stolen away by its Ryan. With 30 seconds left on the clock, this payload is not going to be contested until maybe Frogblender respawns, but it's a Bomb King and a Charlene against the world. Can King D Devil get back in time? Capture rolls on through, and no, a second too late, just a hair away.
I mean, Straight Outta Casuals, they could have done what they essentially touched with someone like Erase or Frogblender, but they would have fallen so quickly and been picked off by Cryptic that it would have turned into just a staggered play. And as we look over to the itemizations, we can actually find Straight Outta Casuals are able to pick it back up, though.
That's really important as they have matched at least the tier 2 offensive itemization, but Team Cryptic, what are they going for with those extra credits in pockets right now as they're leading the net worth charts?
Well, we've seen a lot of resilience picked up onto the side of Cryptic for the past few games, but Haze and Musics are both going to go into the resilience one for the moment, and it seems like Haze does have enough credits to get resilience too, but not going to pick it up just yet, maybe holding off.
Maeve activates Midnight then to start things off. Sizzy tries to find the damage. Team Cryptic looking to get a shutdown. Frog Blender is the first blood. Megiddo the second, falling to this double flank duo so far of Team Cryptic as everybody from SOC starts to retreat. They're holding on to ultimate so they can re-engage here. Team Cryptic don't have combat mechanic either, and SOC do, so all it takes is maybe one team fight win here to really force their way in. But Charlene in ult is already dead.
Speaking of one team fight, we did see Dread Serpent miss out onto the back line, and Frog Blender is going to go in, able to pick up one. Ryan is going to fall, but in return, Music's is going down and picking up Frog Blender, who's going to be the huge damage and essential part of Straight Outta Casuals. Without their damages, without their takes, they're going to fall one by one, and Cryptic taking the objective once again.
Look at that Slugshot just powering on through. You cannot let Musics do what they're doing right now in your backline. The damage is too consistent. And in fact, let's look at the charts. And Musics is sitting at the top there, 17 streak. Currently 9, 10, 0, and 8 on Ashe. 48,000 damage, topping the charts.
With Buck just following in the lead, the side of Cryptic is so powerful and their play is so well put. It doesn't even look like the same game as last time, and the teams are so staggered around. It seems like we are going to start things off with a through time and space though.
Doesn't really find any pressure so far though. Team Cryptic still leaning forwards. Look at Ashe just sat around the outside of the fight, still really unmoving from this location, able to outbox Bomb King and Charlene through a window, always being healed up by Genos. But again, Team Cryptic need to maybe look to a different ultimate to start things off. Midnight is ready. Is that what you might want as a catalyst for this?
It should be the engager if they're going to go on to the aggressive push, but it seems like they're going to pop it right now, and Straight Outta Casuals have to hold out this payload. Might go overextension onto the back line, but it looks like they can't get to her.
Oh, King D Devil, though, is able to traverse the high to low ground or the low to high with their aerial assault, gets up and shuts her down. Bringing out the big guns now as well. King D Devil looks for the damage. Ancient Rage in response. The melee anchor, the plushie Makoa comes on through, but it's Ryan doesn't find the kill. With 1, 2, 3 health online, King D Devil gets the shutdown. Music's channel's shoulder bash, gets a double kill, but ends up being sent back to base for the first time this game, and as Goldex is retreating, that is the end of this push so far. Frog Blender able to help make the defense.
They're falling for now, and Straight Outta Casuals have that choke position. If they need to get Cryptic up to some sort of stance, then they are going to sit back, not go on to the aggressive push, because they know if they get picked off, that Cryptic will capitalize upon it, especially with a Haze and Sizzy onto a double flank. That means one pickoff means maybe detrimental loss for them.
Nice chain crowd control coming through then from Team Cryptic. Void Grip into Dredge Anchor almost sends its Ryan back to base. And that respawn timer, whilst not as long potentially for the defending team now, is still longer than you want when the payload is so close to pushing on through. This could very easily become a 4-0.
no.
Team Cryptic are looking for the opportunity to engage, and there's the double kill coming through. The double flank Geo rains down damage onto their enemies. Only Bomb King is left remaining right now, but no, Sizzy traverses to the high ground, gets the kill, and that's Team Cryptic with the final victory in this set to end things up 2-1.
Wow, Cryptic just turning the game around, and the tides from last time, it seems like they went with the sort of same composition onto the double flank, but onto a map that's Bright Marsh, that's so enclosed and tied off. They had so many opportunities to work around into these tight corridors and positions that it really was in their favor throughout this whole fight. And Goldex, especially picking up the Genos, able to get healing through the walls, even though if he was out healed by Sleppy by just 1k, it still was essential for his kit.
And I think that was very, very important there as well. Also, the through time and spaces that did connect at certain points were really important throughout the duration of that game. And I was really liking the coordination specifically between the front lines of Team Cryptic to allow them to do what they're doing so well. Like the Void Grip into Dredge Anchor is a good example, but it's Ryan and Music sort of taking a pincer flank approach and really splitting the focus in two directions was masterful versus SOC.
Yes, I agree there completely. Excuse me. And Erase, Frog Blender both had a great position on the side of SOC, and they knew how to utilize their playstyle. It's just the fact that they didn't capitalize upon kills every time there was a mispositioned Buck and an overextended Sizzy. When they got that kill, they didn't turn it around into a reverse pressure onto their end, and that's where SOC might have just fallen throughout this game.
So let's take a look at our bracket now, as we do end up finishing that set 2-1 in favor of Team Cryptic, as we have just remarked. And back on screen, Team Cryptic, the first finalist for today, looking more towards Gangstars and Revital now as the second set online. Is there anything that you're expecting to see come out of these two teams now we've seen the first set go through, we've seen a little bit of what our draft is going to be like?
Well, I'm expecting just crazy pickups. Talus still has not been seen picked up by any team yet, and honestly, one of my favorite champions as well with his new legendaries. So we might see that come through, as now Jaguar Falls is maybe not bad away. We haven't actually seen the map drafts come through in bans for the side of Gangstars and Revital, but maybe there might just be a pickup, or we might see something totally different as a Sky. That's what I'm thinking.
You think the Smoke Bomb Sky might come out, something crazy like that? I mean, I'd always love to see a bit of a wrench, a bit of a spanner thrown in the works there. Quick reminder, folks, we are going to be going to a break whilst we get ready for Gangstars versus Revital. We're aware of the frame rate issues from the stream right now due to maybe some tech back-end issues between myself and our encoding PC, maybe our relay, or maybe something else going on Twitch's end, and change everything up down the line. So give us a couple of minutes. The stream will be going down momentarily between these two sets, but we will be back live again. Before you know it, don't go anywhere. Gangstars versus Revital with myself, and also Unexceptional on the mic, coming up in just a moment.
swept away, swept away. I'm cornered in the cold where you left me. Left again, left again. Oh, there's a jungle in my head growing wilder, and it's killing me, killing me. I cannot let you go. 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 I'll run into your arms if you call me. Call me please, call me please. I folded every thought like a razor, carving deep memories. Oh, am I standing at the wrong intersection? Come back to me, back to me. How could I let you go? 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 Need to confess, 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 need to confess.
Hello and welcome back then, champions, to the second semi-final set of the day in this week's ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup. It is the last Go4Paladins Europe Cup that will be broadcast, not played, but broadcast, before the end of December. My name is still Hi-Res Vox, and I am joined by Unexceptional. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing well, Vox. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Can you tell that I'm kind of sat back in my chair like it's an armchair? I feel like I need a pipe right now.
You sound like it. You sound
Welcome
relaxed.
to Bedtime with Vox. That's it's actually a story series we've been meaning to do at some LAN events for a while now, for a couple of years, and have never gotten around to. But regardless of that and enough of the tangents, let's go ahead and check out our map draft for this set, as it is Gangstars versus Revital Gaming. Unexceptional. Talk to me about what we're going to be seeing here today and what has been taken off the table to start things off.
really band away. We have Frozen Garden, Stone Keep. Both of these maps have those like long hallways, long corridors to shoot down, but mostly a lot of closed off claustrophobic areas. Particularly Frozen Garden is hard to push, so to go 3-4, but right now we have
Jag Falls then starts things off, so a much more compact map. It's funny because we've seen these two teams ban away the kind of bigger, more open maps, and now they're going to that super claustrophobic map. So why do you think that is? Is that maybe like a pick preference from one of these teams, or is that suiting the playstyle better?
Jaguar Falls, for me, it's kind of like a neutral map, you know? It's a good gauge, map one, see what the other team wants to do. You can pick a lot of different team comps into it. I think that's what they're going for this first map.
I can appreciate that. It is a best of 3 sets, so of course you've got the opportunity to maybe see what your opponents are doing, respond to it, and even if map number 2 doesn't go too well, if you're the first pick and you selected Jag Falls, you've got that game 3 to fall back on, but never really want to let it get that far. You do want to take a win in game number 1, and it is Gangstars the highest seed in this set with Jaguar Falls as their draft. Let's head on through to our champion draft to see exactly how things will be kicked off here and see who's going to take the edge in map number 1. And starting things off then with a champion draft on your screens right now. Bans to come through. Seen a lot of Makoa bans so far, a lot of Bomb King bans. You know, also the Cassie ban as well, as that was proven very strong in certain situations where you got a long line of sight. But actually starting things off, it's a Janus and a Bomb King taken away initially. So talk to me about those bans and why do you think those might be coming out?
Bomb King is unsurprising because people are still afraid of his new legendary, but the Genos is not often banned, especially not first, leaving open the Makoa, but the Gangstar is going to pick Maldamba, make sure that they have the best healer in the game right now.
And they also then leave themselves open to maybe take some other picks later, but Cassie and Makoa very quickly snapped up by Revital Gaming, so they're getting a good amount of damage on. The only thing that I'm looking at right here, Makoa makes sense, but Cassie, with her new legendary, deals damage, extra bonus damage once you're over a certain distance. I think it's 100 units. And on a close map like Jag Falls, feels like that would be a bit less effective than you would otherwise expect.
I think the thought process is that on the point, there's that big firing range. If she can stay at one end and shoot people as they're coming in, it's a lot of extra damage for free. The Gangstar is going to go right into 2 tanks, Ashe and an Inara. I'm excited to see Inara finally get picked up.
Now it feels like, yeah, the Inara is going to be your point hold frontline here, and your Ashe is going to be doing a lot of work specifically playing around maybe the backline. Saw some of that pulled out by Team Cryptic, actually. 3 games in a row where, with Slugshot, Ashe was able to box out, especially from mid-range. Now you're looking to poke down the Cassie, but in response, as Ceres, and the Pip picked up as well. This screams Wombo combo to me above everything else.
Exactly right. I mean, once Pip uses his ultimate, turns everybody into chickens. If you have Makoa go into the Ancient Rage, 1500 health is not a lot of health against a powerful ultimate like that. Not to mention Cassie can just pick people off. Realistically,
that's a blast shot on 2 swings from Ancient Rage, and that shuts down everybody involved. Charlene then, and Leon to close things out for Gangstars. They got a pretty strong lineup, a lot of direct damage, no real AoE source here is the big thing that I'm noticing, unless Ashe doesn't go into Slugshot, which I find relatively unlikely. Revital Gaming, last pick, 10 seconds left on the clock for them. What are your expectations? Double frontline, triple damage, maybe double support, triple support?
I have to think double frontline, but triple support seems like a little too much support and not enough health or damage. Right now, they need health or damage, and they're going to go with a little bit of both with Fernando.
Getting your beefcake online is no bad thing, to say the least. So looking at these 2 team compositions, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I really like Revital's angle for maybe we'll go for the Wombo combo, and actually if that's a Scorch Fernando as well, and you get a good convergence into Evil Mojo, that's a lot of kill potential just off Fireball, which is really nice. On the other side of things though, the Lian is the really interesting pick for me here. I'm not sure quite how she fits into this composition. Is there any indication from OB64 that might make Lian different in this circumstance?
Honestly, I'm kind of with you. She seems like a weird... I feel like once you pick the Shaolin, you generally don't go into the Lian, who's also, you know, a direct damage, not quite a sniper, but a direct damage dealer. I would have expected them to round out their draft with more of an AoE player. Maybe a Drogo is as good on this map, but we're just going to have to see how it plays out.
Exactly the case. Maybe the Leon can build something big there with Enlightenment or maybe some really good presence shots and get a lot of collateral damage coming through. And maybe their ultimate as well might come in handy if you're going to try and immune some of the crowd control coming out of Revital Gaming, which they've stacked heavily into. The answer really does lie in game and the execution from all of these players. Join us then in just a couple of minutes once we get into game number 1, map number 1 of this best of 3 semi-final set. Welcome back then, champions, to Gangstars versus Revital Gaming, map number 1 on Jaguar Falls. My name is Hi-Rez Vox, joined of course by Unexceptional. Let's check out our legendaries Unexceptional and see exactly what's going on because with Gangstars, Menschmeyer is running Treacherous Ground in to start things off, Madang on Slugshot Ash, Navron with Desert Shadow, Charlene, Smutney on Wikono's Curse Maldamba, and Skos is here on Precision Lian.
Yeah, on the other side, we have Kelda, Cassie, Just Breathe, William, Birkin, Leviathan, Zotriv, Mortal Reach, Uber Spady with the Catalyst, and I Am Annoying, rockin' Aegis.
Now, it is the Aegis Fernando, which is slightly surprising there, as we did maybe expect the Fireball and the Scorch to come on through, as that might combo very, very well with the convergence into Evil Mojo, but Dredge Anger from William Birkin starts things off. There's the first blood coming through. Round into the backline goes Charlene. Navron looking for the angles here, but can't quite find it. William has their Dredge Anchor available again, gets a little bit of poke heal from Pip, but does end up falling to Skosis, and Lian shuts them down immediately, so Gangstar's taking early control of this point fight.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. 3 already down. We're at 42% captured already, and the Gangstars are looking really strong to start this one off.
And they're taking good positioning now. I really love where Menschmeyer is putting themselves, and also look at the pincer flank coming out from Ash as well, which is what we talked about so far. How do Revital Gaming try and break into this fight now as we rise upwards of 90%?
Well, they need to make their move right now. A little too late. Objective captured at 2 minutes in, so a dominant first point coming out.
And it really
right
seemed
now,
like a lot of that was led from Gangstar's ability to zone towards the end of that capture objective. Was there anything different that you think we could have seen Revital Gaming maybe do to kind of break their way in earlier, or was that kind of Gangstar's having a done deal after that first couple of kills?
I think the problem was they're relying too much on Fernando's shield. They went with the Aegis because I think they want to set up a wall behind him and get all the damage through on the back of Fernando, and the shield just went down too quickly.
The problem is, if Fernando's got their shield up and they're trapped inside this big waters field with the Treacherous Ground and Nara, they're not going to be moving at all. Their movement speed is slowed to a trickle right there. Enlightenment from Skosis is good enough for the kill. One comes through, boxing out now with Makoa. Can't find the shots, but Skosis stays alive and continues to deal damage in this engagement. 1 minute and 35 seconds left on the payload push. Revital Gaming need to defend here, and they're coming up to the next choke point underneath the catwalk of their base. Again, what are we looking at for Revital Gaming to really make a defense here to be able to hold on?
Makoa needs to, the positioning needs to be better. Makoa needs to be with the team, putting up that big half-shell shield and getting more than just himself under it. they need to group as a team and make sure they pick off these softer damage-dealing targets. They need to get through the Ashe and through the Inara.
Looking for Smutny now. Uberspady is trying to deal with at least one of those. Can't find the damage around the corner, though. Catalyst bonus, not enough. Madang comes to the rescue, and Gangstars do hold on true. 57 seconds remaining. Inara is respawning right now. Revital Gaming have the respawn proximity advantage, and they are holding on, but with overextensions like that, it does make you wonder that if like the Pip's going to go off by themselves, chasing kills again and again, and then end up whiffing relatively easy cleansing shots like that, Revital Gaming have got a very uphill battle to play into here.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the Fernando was not the right choice into this double direct damage dealing team. They can just shred the shields between Leanne and Shaolin, and we're seeing it happen.
Ko activates Ancient Rage. They're trying to hold on, but Revital Gaming might have used that a bit too early as the great disengage comes from Gangstars, and they immediately withdraw away from the melee monster. 15 seconds to go. Madang, Skos is getting boxed down. A couple of kills are coming through, and Smutny's pulled in as well, so Revital Gaming are starting to convert on the kills that they need to, but Menschmeyer is still frontlining this objective right now, slowly getting chipped down. I think at this point, Gangstars will end up falling out, but that was actually very nearly a big heal coming there through there onto the Inara, and Gangstars could still keep this in overtime.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job just existing on this point right now. Skosis, with a heroic effort at the end, looks like it's not going to be enough. Ashe almost getting back to reset the overtime clock, but we're going to be tied 1-1 just under 5 minutes.
And with that in mind, Revital Gaming, despite a lackluster performance on the objective capture, do end up getting the defense on. They get some credits in the bank. Looking at the net worth charts, it's not all doom and gloom here because they've got that tier 2 offensive itemization, and they're even getting some luxury items online. A lot of resilience so far for them, but Gangstars are going into a couple of luxury items of their own as well. Talking about Navron and Skosis.
Well, we're talking about Navron and Skosis. I mean, the key here is the direct damage that they do. Skosis building into the Wrecker, making sure that they deal with the Fernando shields as quickly and easily as possible. Navron is just going to have the cauterize and make sure there's no healing going on.
As well as the morale booster, looking to get their ultimate online as fast as possible. Holding steady. Chip poke going towards William Birkin, starting things off with the Dread Serpent coming out of Smutny. Seismic Crash to follow up, and Zutriv goes down. Cassie now being chased out. And look at the amount of damage coming through from Smutny with their bonus damage legendary as Skosis cleans up 1 kill on a Zelda on the outside of this fight. Engaging is Uberspady as well. William Birkin trades out in response, but Inara is healthy on the objective, or around the outside, excuse me. Watersfield with the cripple shuts down that shell spin escape. Revital Gaming are going to be bullied off the objective as Gangstars already have 60% on the points.
And what really started that off was immediately Menschmeyer separated Fernando from the rest of the team with a really good wall, picked off Fernando, and then without that frontliner, the squishies in the back, and then we're seeing it again, the squishies in the back are being left alone, and there's just nothing they can do. They don't have the self-peel, and they're taking advantage of it.
Exactly. Gangstars now surging forwards. They get the second capture of the game, second capture in a row, and even though now William Birkin is using their Ancient Rage to try and disrupt the backline, could get a kill on the Skosis, but Skosis is running away. There we go, cancelling it early to allow Uberspady to convert on that. I mean, it's too little too late. We saw this last time. Revital Gaming make the saving play a couple of seconds after the point capture has come through, and you've got to get those neutral points if you want to end up winning the game.
Good job of making the best of a bad situation, but they're not doing a very good job of staying out of the bad situation in the first place.
No, they've got to put themselves in a better place to start off with. Oh, Seismic Crash kicks things off from Inara. Maybe Navron can capitalize on that. Skosis goes in, dives, looking for more damage. William Birkin falls, and Gangstars gain a bit of momentum here. Big flank coming out around the outside. Immediate refocus from Skosis towards Zelda. There's the shot. Straight through with Enlightenment, as well as the grace to finish. Madang getting credit for Zutriv. That's a full team wipe that just came through. Gangstars are rolling.
What an intelligent ultimate coming out of Skosis right there. Recognizing their own health, recognizing their opponent's health, because you can't die during that ultimate. So once you hit it, you know you can finish channeling it. All you have to do is land the shot and you're going to live.
I think it was also really good coordination from Smutny to recognize that, hey, Skosis is damage immune right now. Let me get a heal onto them. They've got maybe 100 health remaining. So when they come out of that damage immunity, let me make sure that they're going to be able to survive. Great play so far, and this time Gangstars are breaking the base without really any trouble at all. Moving forwards into position, Menschmeyer's taking towards high ground right now. Revital Gaming can't make it out of base. Is there anything they can do to stall out here?
Damage off the table. They need to make sure they pick off Skozis. Menschmeyer, though, is just doing a really good job existing in front of this team. Even though they got turned into a chicken for a second, it's not going to stop them from pushing successfully.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's on the back of Menschmeyer.
That was partially on the back of Menschmeyer. That was also on the back of the fact that the front lines from Revital Gaming there. And I don't often like to do individual callouts, but William Birkin and I am annoying. We're trying to deal in the backline with Skozis. Evil Mojo came out into Lian. Pip was forced to reload because Uber Spady didn't have 2 shots in the tank to be able to deal the catalyst damage necessary to finish off that chicken. So the front lines turn around, look away from the objective, and maybe a good wall, maybe a good Waters field from Inara is all that's required in that situation to just allow the payload to slip through for free. With 3-1 at 9 minutes in, this is looking like Gangstar's game. Is there anything Revital Gaming can do to come back into this?
They need to make sure that I Am Annoying doesn't get cut off from the rest of the team. We've seen that a couple of times now, on the point where I Am Annoying on Fernando gets, I mean, just a couple of steps ahead of their team, and then all of a sudden there's a wall.
This time extending
no
is William
backup.
Birkin, though, and William could be caught out here and is indeed by the treacherous ground from Inara, barely surviving. Ceres gets the heal on. Gangstars do start pushing forwards. I'm Annoying has the first kill here, but Mad Ang sets up on around the outside of the objective as I'm Annoying gets a double kill and is trying to buy time for that team, and now this time around it's Navron re-engaging. Double kill to the Charlene. The Ash Slug shots go through and Mad Ang pushes straight into the backline, looking for the damage. Gangstars, despite 2 kills, going immediately to this Fernando, stay in control.
The Ceres Makoa combo is working really well, but it's the other 3 characters that don't seem to be working out. This treacherous ground shuts down so much mobility, and it just seems like Revital Gaming isn't learning their lesson.
They're trying to engage now, though. They've got to use their ultimates here. They've got to engage and take the opportunity to, because Revital Gaming are about to be shut out of map number 1. But I'm Annoying gets crippled out. Dread Serpent from Smutney about to go down, does end up falling to Makoa, and Polymorph is available for this Pip, who tries to shut down Skozis. One more shot will do it, and maybe this could be the beginning of a retake coming through here just the last second, but no, Inara sends the Stone Spear straight into Uber Spady despite the 1v1 versus Lian, and that will be all she wrote for map number 1. Gangstars take victory in 3 capture points.
Anyone who says that Ash isn't viable anymore, you might want to wipe that egg off your face, because Ash is looking amazing with this new legendary, dealing so much damage to go along with the mobility.
And I don't think it's just the amount of damage. It's not just the damage increase to me that's really mattering here. I feel like it's the range increase, the projectile speed increases, which have really helped Ash out in this situation. The fact that Mad Ang can kind of sit behind corners and poke people out from a much safer distance from before makes her less vulnerable to the dredge anchor from Makoa, maybe a pull from the Ceres ultimate, or even just putting themselves in a grouped up spot where they could be evil mojoed by Uber Spady. And looking at the charts right now, Gangstars, they played a lot of things right. Really impressive as well to see Smutney rising up on the damage charts, also keeping up with healing despite focusing a lot, I think, on hit scan damage from their Mending Spirits. Looking more towards Revital Gaming here then. The odd one out does still seem to be I Am Annoying, who just got carved away from their team so much.
The positioning wasn't perfect, and in that situation, that's all you really need is just less than perfect. It was too much direct damage coming out of Lian and Shaolin right into the shield. And even though they had Aegis trying to compensate for that, I think it would have been maybe a little bit more advantageous to go with Scorch and try to confirm some more kills rather than try to live longer.
Because there were definitely some stacks which could have been taken advantage from Gangstars when they kind of grouped up around a corner, and a big bonus damage fireball swinging into your team is not something that you do want to deal with. Regardless, we can talk about shoulda, coulda, woulda all day. Let's head on through to our map draft for map number 2 to see exactly where we'll be going after Gangstars take the 4-1 on Jag Falls. And Patrick, talk to me about Bright Marsh. We saw this in the last set. We're going to see it again now. What are we expecting in terms of champion drafts?
Bright Marsh, you always want to see tanks, and you want to see shooting through small areas. So you don't necessarily need to be as mobile on Bright Marsh because there are so many little hidey holes that you can walk into, but I wouldn't be surprised to see an Inara any kind of character with verticality also really thrives on Brightmarsh, so maybe a Ruckus or a Drogoz.
Well, we always talk about what might happen. We always do like to speculate, but let's wait around no longer. Revital Gaming have first pick in this next iteration of the champion draft, and they've got first ban as well. Cassie taken off the field already, and let's see what comes through next. It is the Bomb King removed from play, which leaves the Makoa open as first pick, and Revital Gaming, whilst it wasn't a win condition for them last time, I think they feel it's too valuable to give away, and they prioritize that immediately.
I think that's the right thing to do. Makoa, especially with the new legendary, the Davy Jones locker, if you can get the hook and then the kill, it resets the hook, and that's exactly what you want to do on a map like Brightmarsh. It's really easy to pull somebody into your entire team.
I've seen a lot of instances of, especially I think, Theo playing Unbound and just going hook, 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 kind of pentakill style, but this is bound mode, folks. That kill reset threshold is a little bit lower right there, so not quite as easy. Gangstars, though, they draft away 2 supports immediately. Do you think this might be some binary star Genos we're seeing?
Yeah, or maybe an aggressive Maldamba. All I know is that they're going to have some healing, and one of these healers has to be built a little bit more offensively. On the other side, Revital going with the double tanks, going to pick up Inara and Pip.
In response then, so sticking as well with the Pip, and Uber Spady was actually topping the damage charts from last game, so I certainly don't mind that pick up there with Pip. It's if Uber Spady goes in it again, and I feel like with Brightmarsh, with a little bit of the verticality you have, Pip might be slightly more useful. Fernando and Buck to respond though, so Gangstars right now have a huge amount of sustain and tankiness on that team. Are they missing anything that you feel could be fleshed out as the last few picks come through?
I mean, this is tough because I think they need more health. I think they need another frontliner. I think Ruckus rounds out their team really well. Revital going to pick Saris, and they're going to have to end their draft. I think they need some damage on this team, Revital does. They're going to go with Grok.
Wow, that I guess that's damage. We've seen what Shock Pulse can do on this map, but the problem that I'm seeing here is that Fernando's shield, especially if running Aegis, is going to be a very good interrupt for the Shock Pulse from Grok, so I'm not expecting that damage potential to be quite as significant as we would otherwise see it, maybe versus like a Torvald where there's nothing to interrupt those bounces. Gangstars have the last pick available. We want to see double frontline. They've got the Buck for some sustain. Let's see what they draft into, and oh, okay. That's a Drogoz to close things out, which I don't think either of us expected.
I was expecting another frontliner for sure, but I guess they're really going to rely on the healing and damage coming out of Drogoz and Buck to win these team fights before the triple support on Revital can keep these tanks alive.
This is certainly, I guess the way that we can put it, this is an OB64 composition coming out of both teams, and really, I would ask you who you're giving the edge to, but this is so new to me that I really couldn't put a dime on it if I wanted to. So folks, we'll let the players do the talking. We'll see if Gangstars can take a clean 2-0 victory over Revital Gaming, or if Revital Gaming have enough fight in them to pull things back on their map choice of Brightmarsh in game number 2. We're back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Just hold tight. We're up at the moonlight, believe in the magic. On side, we'll make it feel just right. Just look at that bright light, believe in the magic, and we can save you from your past. This bond is always gonna last. When nothing
Welcome back then, champions. I hate to drag you away from those funky groovy vibes, but it's Revital Gaming versus Gangstars map number 2, live on your screens right now. The action is here, folks. The action is ready. Let's go ahead and check things out and check some legendaries out, as it is Revital Gaming on the left-hand side of your screen to start things off. Leviathan Makova for Zelda, I'm Annoying with Catalyst Pip Zutriv, on Soul Collector Ceres, William Birkin, on Mother's Grace Nara, and Uber Spady on Maelstrom Grok.
And on the other side, Navron with the Worm Jets, Drogos, followed by Skosis, Bulk Up, Buck, Menschmeyer, Binary Star, Genos, Scorch, Fireball, and Smutney, Wakano's Curse, Meldamba.
And it's really this, rather than anything else, the binary star that I want to see come out from Genos right now, because this sort of turns... Now, I know that in sort of PTS Unbound testing, this turned Genos into sort of like a mini Androxus, or a more mobile Androxus to a degree with recent nerfs to Netherstat, but right now, Menschmeyer is starting to frag out, looking for a lot of initial poke, throwing out some heals and taking to the front line, but does overextend slightly, could be in a lot of trouble here. Needs a heal to come through. Gangstars could capitalize, maybe, if somebody overextends in response, but Revital Gaming are doing a good job at holding this point down to start things off.
When you get the Anara, she's blocking off that whole doorway, and she's forcing the Gangstars around this neutral area. They can't walk in the doorway on their own side, and we can see it that they're struggling in their positioning a little bit. Mad Ang coming in to save the healers, though.
First blood there. Skosis tries to move in, but Buck can't touch the point in enough time. That's actually the capture going through to Revital, completely uncontested. Again, I've got to pull back this Inara. Really good combo play between them, the Grok, and the Ceres so far to make sure that they stayed alive and got the plays that they need to capture. But right now, Gangstars have regained control of the objective area, and they're looking for some forward zoning to make more of a defense here.
Yeah, I don't think there's a map that Grok is better on than Bright Marsh. There's just so many places to hide the totem. People are forced to bunch up so you can bounce the lightning between an entire team.
Sorry, that sounds like some kind of... That sounds like a bit of an interesting game. Is hide the totem right there. Is that what we do as Grok now? It's going to go around the walls. You can't find it. Hide the totem. But Zutriv actually just picked up a double kill on Ceres off the back of a good convergence there. So Revital Gaming starting to gain a bit more pressure around the objective, now pushing forwards. I like what Uber Spady's doing with positioning, being very safe with Ghostwalk and starting to frag out a little bit. Let's look at the damage charts, and they're sitting in third, but leading the charts right now is Skosis.
Yeah, we all know how much damage Buck can deal, taking the 2 or 3v1 right there. Gonna make sure Skosis heals up a little bit so they don't go down too easily, but Buck just creates chaos in opponent teams.
And speaking of which, there's no better chaos than a Dread Serpent to start things off. Double kill to Navron. Dredge Anchor doesn't come through because Makoa has fallen. Navron lands the last shot onto Zutriv. Maybe 238 health remaining. How much does Zutriv have right there? Not enough, as they have at last fallen. Even though Gangstars lose Navron, Gangstars come out on top. Massive plays coming through there. Great disruption. Good Dread Serpent from Smutney to be able to enable that play.
Seconds left. The point's only halfway home. Revital is going to have to put their foot on the gas pedal if they want to go up 2-0 to start this one off, because Gangstars are putting up one heck of a defense.
They've got to start flicking the switch and engaging the Eurobeat right now, because they've got to go fast and they've got to get this payload through. Don't want to be caught out with a long overtime in this situation, otherwise you might be tempted to burn ultimates where you don't need to as well, but fire spit pressure from Navron is sending everybody away, and that does force Grok at least back behind a corner to play once again. Hide the totem and try and stay alive, but oh no, a Dread Serpent, no, excuse me. Now it's a convergence. Before it was an Evil Mojo, it's all the support ultimates coming out, trying to hold on, and Revital Gaming do take control at this point, but immediate obliteration. Down goes Zutriv. That's a Fire Spit Salvo combo that you don't want to be on the wrong end of.
Yeah, I don't think I want to be on the wrong end of that at all.
No?
I mean, this is what Drogos does so well, especially on Bright Marsh, is that people are forced to clump up, and when you blow up those fire spits, it just does so much damage across the board. Defended successfully. We're tied 1-1 at 4.5 minutes, Vox.
We certainly are. You know, Navron actually got an execution. He got a kill into Makoa with the fire spit right at the end there of that point as well. How insulting does it feel to you as a player if you're killed by a sneeze?
I like to think of it more as a really aggressive loogie.
Yeah, I guess it is actually a loogie in the tooltip. I just had the impression of, like, you're not worth my time. I'll just spit in your general direction and we'll call it quits. Drogos is actually third on the damage charts right now, but looking more at your items for this round, moving into round number 2, Revital Gaming with that neutral capture point, although they didn't get the conversion, they're sitting on a couple of luxuries here.
Yeah, I mean, we got level 2 cauterizes coming out a little bit on Revital Gaming, but on the other side, we have 3 level 2 cauterizes, 1 level 1, and a couple of Chronos is coming out for these supports, making sure they get their cooldowns up a little bit faster.
Oh, Uberspady, though, does manage to box out as Grok there versus the Buckwild Buck to be able to ult themselves to victory. Now retreating, shut down by Navron again. There's the damage combo that we talked about before. Zelda runs away. Chasing them down is Navron, landing the direct shots, and although Dreadjacken does come on through, procking the Ancient Rage, that's a Leviathan Makoa. They don't have the kill potential that maybe Pluck would otherwise provide. It's Gangstars with 63% on the objective. Revital Gaming have got to find a way back in, but can they do so in time?
It's going to be hard getting through all that damage, but they are picking up the kills. They are moving forward. William Birkin, though, going to go down while the ultimate is channeling.
That was big, but does mean that Inara still holds that in the tank. And as Revital Gaming have been able to hold on to this point, they have a really good defensive ultimate to be able to use in the form of that seismic crash if necessary. Fernando will go into their immortal. Oh no, Menschmeyer finds the combo there. Straight on with through time and space. Skozis is being forced back. Uberspady staying alive. The shatter comes through. The restore soul, Consume Soul from Ceres, but Navron's found 2 kills on the backline of this fight and is now looking for more as Gangstars have taken back this point fight. Nobody can make it there in time. No, overtime is ticking. Inara has fallen. Zelda tries to make their way in, but this is so close, and it's only Zutriv locking it down for blue team right now. Revital Gaming have to find some kills.
Zelda here on the Makoa doing a good job just existing. Sometimes that's all you need from your frontliner. They've recaptured the point, and now they're climbing Revital right now.
Shock pulses from this Grok. Uberspady doing serious work here, but Skozis puts on the pressure again. Can Ceres get the heal off in time? Zutriv cannot, but no! Gangstars capture the objective as Zutriv is chasing down Skozis around the back line of this fight. Should have looked towards the objective, had convergence ready, but just isn't used in time, and down the Oracle falls.
I get the feeling that Zutriv is a very technically talented player, but maybe not so comfortable on Ceres, because we've seen a couple times where Zutriv is looking for kills instead of looking for heals, and their teammates have fallen for it.
You've got to ask if maybe that was part of Gangstar's draft. It was the Janus and Maldamba that was taken immediately, so do you feel like this is maybe Gangstar's trying to push Revital Gaming out of their comfort zone?
If it is, it's working, because every support in Paladins right now has Maldamba and a Genos in their back pocket, looking good, feeling comfortable on those characters. We don't really see a whole lot of other healers unless it's a specific pocket pick where I think they intentionally force them into Ceres.
And I think that's really good play so far. It's funny, you force them off the Maldamba, off the Genos, and it's triple support to compensate. And for Revital Gaming, well, it works in the first objective fight, but it's not working out now as Navron is turtling inside the enemy base here. Maybe looking for a suicide if they can find it. Thrust is available. Goes up, tries to escape, but no. Just ends up... Wait a second. Navron going into the cheeky little Dragon Punch finds William Birkin there. Amazing bait from Gangstars. Captain looks for more engagements. Out comes Evil Mojo in response, and the Polymorph is good to shut them down, but Gangstars are surging forwards. What an incredible bait and switch from Gangstars to be able to get this conversion rolling.
I want to see high-level play, Drogos. Look that clip up. That was unbelievable. Hiding off the edge for so long, pretending like you're dead. William Birkin going to use the ultimate right there. Gangstars look unstoppable.
How do you respond to something like that coming out of Gangstars? With Ancient Rage right now, as that is the only thing keeping currently Revital Gaming in this fight. But the Ancient Rage is enough to buy time for the respawns coming through, and now it's only Navron and Skozis left alive. Massive movement speed buff coming through from the Tempest ultimate from Grok. The damage keeps on coming through onto the unyielding Buck, and William Birkin sends Skozis to the grave. Great defense from Revital Gaming, and it's amazing play after amazing play. These are not just regular plays, these are hot plays, because there's a Fernando in them every single time.
What we saw right there was Gangstars almost push it, but then it's just so hard to push through a perfect Ancient Rage. Every attack hitting. Oh, Mad Ang trying to pull the other team apart by backdooring with Fernando.
And Menschmeyer finds the through time and space to immediately evaporate Uberspady. That was big, and Gangstars just slammed the nail on home right there to close things out. 3-1 versus Revital in map number 2. They're sitting on set point currently, and that was just a great coordinated play. Not really the kind of ultimate play, just sheer team coordination that helped them push it through.
and a perfect through time and space. Just did so much free damage that clearly Revital Gaming wasn't ready for. And when you lose half your health bar and you're not ready, that affects your mind. I feel like I get stunned personally. And so I don't react as quickly as I maybe should.
It's not crowd control, but it's unexpected, and it's enough to make you think, huh? What? Or panic, and then retreat maybe faster than you need to for the situation, or maybe not pay enough attention to your surroundings. Regardless, it all comes down to this. Can Gangstars take the victory, or will Revital Gaming still have something in the tanks?
Revital has something in the tanks. We've seen some amazing plays come out of them so far. Almost enough to hold that last defense, but now they've got to cap it.
Inara does wall off the objective, stops Navron from engaging in one direction with Dragon Punch. Problem with Bright Marsh is, though, that there are 3 entrances, and down goes the Stone Warden. Looking for more damage in the backline is Scotus, trying to find the shutdown with the shotgun onto Zutriv, who is Spady the next target of choice, and that totem won't be healing for very much with Cauterize on them. Look at the flick come through as Scotus rapidly redirects and shoots mid-air to keep this damage rolling, and it's Gangstars with 69%, 72 now on the objective, looking to take this one home. Polymorph, will it be enough? I don't think so, Pip. I'm Annoying shuts down Madang, but it's 93% and rising. Uber Spady gets Void Gripped into the air, and Gangstars pull out victory in map number 2.
What a clean set, 4-1. I think it all started with the Dragon Punch right in the back of Inara, like a knife in my heart. The full health Inara went down in one shot, and it's just so hard to come back after you've had your back broken like that.
Especially with Gangstars having the ability to zone then 5 versus 4, it's just difficult to deal with. Do you think that game would have gone differently if the Dragon Punch hadn't connected?
I don't know if it ultimately would have gone differently, but we would have seen a much stronger showing, I think. But the Dragon Punch taking out the full health frontliner right off the bat is so difficult to come back from, especially when it's Inara, who's maybe the best champion in the game at just existing on the point.
Especially since she got the Rejuvenate online very early, and you're playing with triple support. I mean, even if there's Cauterize in the enemy team, it's Rejuvenate and triple support. There's only a certain amount of healing you can shut down now in Paladins, and that's a lot of healing coming out onto the Inara. Good target prioritization, therefore, from Gangstars. Great understanding of core mechanics and some really impressive play from Navron Strogos. Definitely want to see more of that. I'm very thrilled to see Navron off support now and back on damage, because that's certainly something that I feel they excel at. Moving forwards then, Gangstars take the 2-0 victory versus Revital Gaming. Let's head back through to our bracket and see where we've come from today so far and where we'll be going to close things out.
Stars 2-0 on Revital. Team Cryptic 2-1 over Straight Outta Casuals, and I'm excited to see this final between Cryptic and Gangstars. Both of these teams, they're looking hot today. They look coordinated.
And they're looking like they're
I don't know
innovating
who's
as
gonna
well. That's kind of the interesting part to me, is that they're really taking OB64 in hand. They're not the PPL teams which have to focus on OB63 for the Paladins World Championship still. They're diving in and going, all right, what works? Right, the Ash and the Slug Shot. We love this. Let's go for it, says Team Cryptic. Let's pull out some niche things. Gangstars say, all right, everybody's saying that Drogas has been nerfed, Drogas has been neutered. What if we just use them differently? And that's what I love seeing, especially out of these European teams who do this time and time again and week after week after week. And I see you there in the comments, buddy. I see you there in Twitch chat. You're focusing on OB64 for sure. I see a lot of feedback coming through from you and also the rest of our competitive scene, and that is always so valuable. You're really teaching all of our players how to really do things right in the new meta, whether that's Unbound or Bound especially. Now, moving forwards then, again, Team Cryptic versus Gangstars is our finals coming up. On the mic, I will be taking a step back for the first time in a while. It will be Absurd and Unexceptional taking the duo then. I look forward to seeing you back again in just a few minutes. We'll be taking a short break whilst we get our final set up and ready for you. So don't go anywhere, and let me know who you're rooting for in chat in the meantime.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the third set for Go4Paladins Europe Cup number 34. As we're moving in, we are Team Cryptic versus Gangstars, and I am excited to see this match. Joining me here is Mr. Unexceptional. Hello, and I'm excited to get into the map draft. If you want to get into it, I'm ready.
Let's do it. You know I love a good map draft.
All right. If we are going to be ready, let's move it over into the map drafts, and let's talk about the first bans. What do you see coming through onto your side, Unexceptional?
Stone Keep, pretty common ban. We see it pretty regularly. But the Splitstone Quarry ban is interesting to me. It's not a map that's often banned out. That feels like a target. That's a shot to me because it's not frequently picked, so it's not frequently banned. And Jag Falls, map 1, pretty normal.
Yeah, I agree there. There's not going to be too much verticality when moving over to Jaguar Falls, especially if they want to go for a sort of on-ground composition, a grounded play style, using the Shaolin or using something else like Talus. But let's move into the champion draft instead of speculation.
Let's get the hardcore facts in front of us. I want to see what's going on. I want to see who picks who. First ban going over to the side of the Gangstars. Wonder what they're going to do.
And it seems like that is going to be Genos taken away. So this controlled ban of Genos to the side of Gangstars is really uncommon in my eyes.
Yeah, but it's smart because if you ban Genos and then you pick up Maldamba, all of a sudden you're forcing Team Cryptic into an off-meta pick, something that they're maybe not comfortable with. And we saw it work last game, and we're seeing it happen this game.
And Gangstars, as you said, pick up that Maldamba. Moving back over to the side of Team Cryptic, Bomb King is going to be locked in. We see chain reaction, but not only that, but the increased size to his sticky bombs. If he's taking the correct legendary, that is huge, especially onto an enclosed map like Bright Marsh. But finally, we're going to see Cassie locked in as well. So that's 2 huge damage pickups.
Yeah, they're making sure they get their damage online early, and then they can counterpick anything else they need to do. The Gangstars are going to grab Inara and Ashe, make sure they lock down their front line against these big damage dealers. Inara, so hard to kill, and Ashe now with her new legendary Slugshot can deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, taking off that route because Bright Marsh is going to be, as we said, locked down, and Inara can stick onto this objective while Ashe can go up and bully the side of Team Cryptic. As we're looking over, Torvald and Saris are going to be locked in. So as you talked about, that off-meta healer is going to come in.
One of the most powerful healers in the game. Her overall healing numbers are actually kind of nuts. Plus, she can heal through walls at a distance, so I think she's a good pick. Gangstar is going to round out their draft with their own damage dealers, Leanne and Drogos. I like both of those picks. A little direct damage, that's what you want to see.
If we're talking about Leon's new legendary, we have 72.5% decreased healing when it comes to the game. And finally, for the side of Team Cryptic, we do see Fernando finally being picked up. And I think there might have been an issue between the map draft because we are actually seeing Bright Marsh. But I think the first map is actually going to be over onto the side of Jaguar Falls. This is just a little bit of an issue, but we'll be getting back into that in just a second. There we go. Everything's updated, and we will be getting right back into it in just a moment. First, let's head over to a break, get things synced up, and we will be in game in just a minute. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back into game number 1, Gangstars versus Cryptic, and joining me on the mic is Unexceptional. First, before we get into things, let's go down the legendary cards. Onto the side of Gangstars, we have Navron taking the Wormjets Drogos onto the Menschmeiser for the Treacherous Ground, and Nara. Mad Ang is Slugshot onto Ash. We do see a pause coming out at the moment. So Skokas is going to be taking Precision Leon, getting that extra damage buff to come through. And finally, Rokono's Purse for Smutny onto Maldamba.
Yeah, on the other side, it's Ryan with the Scorch Fireball, Fernando, followed up by a little loading issue myself right now. Hayes with the Royal Subjects Grumpy Bomb, making sure they go bigger. Music's Field Study, Torvald, Sizzy, Just Breathe. Cassie, Goldex, Mortal Reach.
And excuse me, folks, we will have to be cutting over to a break because it seems like this pause is going to have a little bit of a change through. We will get back to you in just a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that break, and we are going to jump back into the game as Skokas is going to be taking up the Death and Taxes. Leon, just wanted to point that out before we move over, but we find that Gangstars are going to be on the rebuttal. They're sitting onto this objective, but they are going to be poked down for the moment's being.
Doing a really good job engaging. They're going to pick up first blood on Leanne. Gangstars already down a member.
And we seem like it's going to be Navron taking a double kill at the moment still. Picking up onto the backline, we see a lot of damage output by Drogos for the moment. And he has the Fire Spit available, especially with Wormjets. So he's going to pick up with mobility and sit around this objective. Gangstars going on to that aggressive push once again.
It's a really intelligent pickup. Make sure that it's even more difficult for the Bomb King to shoot. You make sure it's make sure Cassie can't just shoot him right out of the sky. That's what you want to see out of the Drogos. You want to make sure that they can live the longest so they can deal all that damage.
And we see the payload is going to go at 48% so far for the capture point. And Hayes is going onto the side looking for Menschmeiser, finding one pickup. And that's a 1-for-1 once again. The healer is down for the side of Gangstars. They're going to have to retreat away from this point as Hayes picks up a double kill.
Real strong on Bomb King right now. And that's... it's not unexpected. That new legendary, the extra damage, the extra radius on your in-hand bombs really makes them a threat. But Team Cryptic gonna get the cap. They're up 1-zip at less than 2.5 minutes.
And now they're going on to the aggressive stance. It seems like they're pushing up, but not going too overextended onto this push, with a Gangstar still going for a great defense at the moment. Skosis does have that ability to deny a lot of healing coming out from Goldex if she can land her shots.
Yeah, Goldex, though, looking comfortable on Saris. It's not the back foot we saw last game. Maybe Goldex has been practicing Saris a little bit more, doing a great job keeping their teammates alive and staying alive themselves.
And I'm going to hold you right there as Convergence was popped out by the side of Cryptic, but it was denied at the same moment because Smutny decided to go in with a great Dread Serpent, and now wrapping it back up, we are at 1 minute and 30 seconds taken down into the side of Cryptic, pushing it halfway so far.
And Smutny, that team fight went all Gangstars. That was 4 kills for nothing. That was nuts.
Yeah, kills on kills on kills. And now ultimates are coming online. We see Gangstars sitting on 4 at the moment. With this, the same side of Cryptic, they're only sitting on 2. So the offense push from Cryptic might be a little hectic if they're going to either pop ultimates or not.
Before you start thinking about it, you start doing your alt math with the clock. I think you still have plenty of time to push. They're getting close. They're at the choke point. And Team Cryptic, they're looking strong. They're getting through the choke point. The Gangstars are really struggling to put up a defense right now.
They're holding on to the side position, and Gangstars are going to be picked off. 1 as Music goes down. Sizzy gets another 1, and Cryptic are pushing this payload through. Nobody has any objective capture for the side of Gangstars. Anar needs to get back onto it, and it seems like she's going to hold it just for the time being.
And barely surviving that fight. It's a good look from the Gangstars, though, to keep that front liner alive. That's what they need. Even though they're respawning so close to the point, Team Cryptic is doing a good job pushing with less than 20 seconds left, though. We got to start thinking about ultimate use and if it's worth it.
Well, with only 10 seconds remaining, they're sitting onto this objective, and ultimates, if they are popped out from the side of Cryptic, then Gangstars might need to rebuttal with it as well. We see them going in, but into the back line, we find Sizzy already poked down pretty low. Convergence is going to be popped out, and here comes 2, pushed off the side. Music's getting a double into almost a triple, but Travis is barely able to stay alive. Navron sitting out of the sideline. He has the ultimate available, but it seems like Cryptic is just gonna push this through.
You're never safe when a Torvald's around, and that's what we're seeing right now. Team Cryptic gonna win that team fight, gonna go up 2-0 just over 5 minutes, looking good.
They set into that position, and they knew that they were going to combo through the Goldex into the Music's ult, which was just a deadly combo. And if we're looking over to the damage dealt charts, we can find that Hayes and Sissy are leading the charts onto the side of Cryptic with 37k for Bomb King, and just leading or following behind is Sissy onto the 35k for Cassie.
Yeah, the Team Cryptic's damage dealer is doing what you want damage dealers to do, and that is dealing damage. They're looking great at it. That Goldex Music's combo, though, the Goldex ultimate, her Saris ultimate, brings everybody into one spot and makes that hyper beam really easy to hit.
Yes, agreed there, and Scout is going to be popped out. We are sitting onto the back line, but here comes the seismic crash onto the sideline. It seems like Gangstars are going to go into the side lane push as Drogos finds the Dragon's Fury. It's going to pop out 1, and trying to get out the ultimate is Ryan, but it's not going to collide at the same moment.
Yeah, it looks like Mad Ang also got caught a little out of position. Trading tank for tank is fine with the Gangstars as they are capturing the point up over 50%.
They have that turnaround and comeback mechanic for the side, but Ryan gonna get back onto this objective. He does have Immortal available with Hayes sitting on his as well, but it seems like Ryan's just gonna be focused down and kind of dominated through on this side. Navron going up with the aggressive push once again, and it seems like since items have come online for the side of Gangstars, they have been a lot healthier when pushing through this objective.
Yeah, well, Team Cryptic's frontliners are exclusively shield users, so once we get some wreckers online like we do with Navron on Drogos, those shields are going to be a lot less effective, and we're going to see Torvald and Fernando fall off a little bit later on in their ability to protect their team.
Ooh, Menschmeiser was caught out there, and as you were talking with the Navron, ooh, and he's going to be picked off with Navron picking up the record 3 at the moment, and Skosis sitting onto the record 2. That is a lot of damage, but we're looking over at Smutney, who's actually healing the enemies.
That's what Maldamba brings to the table right now. It does a little bit less damage than it does healing, but it's still a really short cooldown. It's just a little bit of poke if you're accurate enough, and clearly Smutney is accurate enough to deal just a little more damage. Gives Maldamba a little more versatility.
It really does, and I enjoy the whole thing that's coming through, but onto the backline, we see Ash asserting the dominance, trying to stay alive throughout this team fight, and Gangstars are going in with the aggressive push. Menschmeiser gets the first blood going down, as Ryan is going to fall. In return, Sizzy gets one onto Mad Azing, and it's a 1-for-1 trade-off at the moment. Leon getting that convergence, and it's going to come through as she picks off one into the backline. Hayes is going to follow up with another, and it seems like Gangstars are going to fall, not able to get onto this objective just yet.
With just under a minute left to push this payload, not that far. They're about 80% of the way there already. Right now, Gangstars have probably one good push left in them, and then maybe one desperate straggling team fight. So this next team fight is going to be for the round with only 30 seconds left.
It depends on how Gangstars are going to break down this frontline composition, because if the shields are going to be run through like we're seeing Music's being poked down, then it's going to be a very hard defense for Cryptic, but they all have ultimates online. The only thing we don't see is Gangstars are a little lackluster onto their side.
We have the two ultimates, but or three ultimates, excuse me, but they're big. Although Menschmeyer going to go down before anyone else, and that's a big frontliner being taken out of the fight. The only way to balance this, I see, is maybe a big dragon punch, but we're at 0 seconds.
Sizzy, it's going to be going with 2 kills over into her Nam, as Hayes did follow up onto a third, and Gangstars are not able to get onto this objective. Now, Cryptic are leading with a 3-1 over Gangstars, and as we look through itemizations, what can you really pick up from either side?
With the level 3 Cauterize on Bomb King with those extra big bombs, it's really easy to spread that Caught 3 around, and that's what you want to see. It just makes the healing coming out of Smutny's Maldamba that much less effective. But on the other side, Navron level 3 Cauterize is going to be wrecking these shields, or excuse me, Wrecker is going to be wrecking these shields.
I'm surprised that Gangstars haven't picked up more resilience versus this combo between Hayes and Goldex, and even with Music's Hyper Beam, it looks like they're not too afraid of the frontline composition or the stun capacity. But as we look over, we find Skokus and the side of Gangstars just going on to a defensive push for now until they find out Ryan, who's a little caught alone onto the sideline.
Yeah, caught alone on the sideline is never where you want to be. It forces your team into an awkward position to save you, or you just die. But here comes Navron's Dragon Punch, gonna find Music's.
1 for 0 at the moment, and Gangstars are going in with the pressure once again. In return, they do have that comeback mechanic, so the payload is going to be taken up by 4%. Navron into the backline seems a little caught out, but he gets 2 with the help of Mad Ing, and it seems like the side is going to go back to Gangstars. They're taking this aggressive lead in their favor.
Yeah, Ash in this new patch is looking like almost like a flanker. So much mobility and damage, but also with the almost 5,000 base health, not easy to take down.
No, not comparatively when it comes to how the tank's shields have been reduced throughout the patch using cards, as they're a little bit weaker. So Ash is a big and strong tank up, especially with the slug shot coming through. Navron's low onto the side, and we see Cassie popping out the ultimate.
You want that vision when you're trying to engage around these blind corners. Mad Ang, though, gonna pay the price along with Cassie. Defense, but Gangstars, I mean, they really need to push. They won't lose if they can't push it right now, but they have not looked at their best trying to win these point caps.
This choke point is a very good setup for Cryptic, especially when they have a Bomb King and a Cassie to poke from a long range, while also keeping the side and the huge choke just controlled with the Grumpy Bomb, with everything else that is around in their kits. Now, Gangstars, they have to group up and get onto this aggressive playstyle that's also team-oriented without being wiped between Cryptic's CC and huge engage.
Just a minute ago, Bomb King survived a fight with 45 health, which I guess is 44 health than you need, 44 more health than you need. And this is the difference here, is that there were a couple members of Team Cryptic who got to about one-shot territory but managed to escape. If Gangstars were able to finish those kills instead of dying themselves, I think we see a successful push.
Speaking of escaping, that is not what Gangstars is going to do. Skoke is going down trying to pop that enlightenment, but won't find anybody to really bring to the light.
Sizzy looking so good on Cassie, so accurate and mobile. Cassie looking like a top-tier damage dealer once more, and I see why.
Yes, she is doing an amazing job poking out from the back line, and we find that Gangstars are going to go on to the sideline push. They're trying to get onto this objective. Navron is able to poke out, and it's a 1-for-1 trade at the moment. Cryptic do have the ultimates online, but in return, Gangstars, if they need to pop it out, they will. Music's goes with the double, and Navron's already into the back line. Seems like he's a little bit caught out of position, and it's just a trade for trade when it comes down to kills, but Gangstars are able to sit onto this overtime.
when it's even trades 1-for-1, it's the advantage to the defending team because they have to travel so much less. They have to between their spawn and the fight is so much shorter that they can regroup much more quickly. And I think we're seeing that now. Team Cryptic doing a good job defending, but Gangstars are far from out of this.
Looks like, as you said, staggered 1 by 1, trying to lead onto that payload, but not able to get there with their whole entire team grouped up, which really is what Gangstars is working around right now. They can't go for those pickouts, one. And Cryptic really, if they get 1 or 2 pickoffs, that is how their team works, especially with running the Cassie. Sizzy's going to do an amazing job, but let's break down the items once again.
Point spawning in 15
We're starting to see some resiliencies get built on the side of the Gangstars. Menschmeyer and Mad Ang, they want to make sure that these tanks aren't getting controlled. And here goes Navron picking up the tier 2 resilience too. Navron, sick and tired of all this crowd control. Navron just wants to deal damage.
As a Drogos, that's all he should need to deal, because his ultimates and his damage point has been on point with the rest of his team is going to collapse on the side. Cryptic seem a little bit caught out of position as they're all grouped up in one area.
Grouped up is not what you want to be against the AoE of Drogos, but looks like they're doing a fine job turning this around. Gangstars, though, are doing a better job being on the point and making sure it gets captured. Big damage coming out of Navron.
Sitting onto this objective, Mad Ang goes in with the Assert Dominance just to stay alive and try to keep Cryptic onto the side, but it seems like she's going to fall. Sizzy getting one. Hayes getting a double into a side line where Menschmeiser is just going to be caught out onto this objective, and the point capture is going to go back in favor of Cryptic, though Gangster...
Want to see
Hold that thought as we
people.
see Bomb King is going to be engaging right with the King Bomb. A lot of convergence is going to come out, and Cryptic actually sit on this objective and take it for themselves.
Really good capture. That's what I was saying, is that defense, it's enough forward that you can dismount people quickly, but it's not so far forward that you can get backdoored by a sneaky player. Really intelligent spacing coming out of Cryptic there, and they're up 1-0.
And up 1-0 is a huge lead, especially when it comes to first map. It seemed like Gangstars had the turnaround advantage, especially with the crowd control and just overall damage that was built into their kits, but it seems like a Navron as Skokus, as we do see through the damage charts, we're leading throughout the damage, but also their death ratio between Skokus taking out with 13 deaths and Navron taking 10. That is a huge demise and loss of composition between their team.
Well, that's really the difference in the game. Sizzy and Hayes died a combined 11 times. Navron and Skosis died a combined 23 times, more than twice as much. When you can't keep your damage dealers alive, it becomes really difficult to deal damage. And when you get kills, it frees up space to push a point, cap a point. You need to be better at keeping your frontliners, or your damage dealers alive, and they need to be better at keeping themselves alive.
I agree there, and Goldex did an amazing job with that, but let's move over onto map number 2. Let's see what we have queued up, and it seems like map number 2 is going to be Bright Marsh. I am excited to see this map.
Bright Marsh, I think, is one of the most exciting maps in Paladins. It's where you, it's where we saw that Drogo's ult come out before. There's just so many angles you can attack from. You really get the most interesting I think.
Yeah, especially with that, I'm gonna quote back to Navron, amazing play by Drogos, keeping himself alive throughout that whole fight. And as we're speaking of it, let's move over into the champion draft, see if he picks up that Drogos once again.
I sure hope so, because not only is Navron great on Drogos, but Drogos is great on Bright Marsh, because you can shoot over the walls. You know, you can jump up, fly around, hit people from over walls when they're not expecting it. Cryptic gonna ban out Bomb King to start, though.
Taking away that Bomb King, he has that huge area damage, especially in these tight, closed corners. And for the side of Gangstars, it seems like they just don't want to deal with the Makoa at all.
Nobody wants to challenge Makoa, especially not with the Davy Jones locker. You don't want to get dragged into it, because then you can just get hooked into hooked, and before you know it, a team fight's over. Cryptic, however, gonna start the draft with a Cassie.
Picking up the Cassie once again, having that long-range poke coming through with her deep breath, legendary I think it's called, or just breathe. I'm a little bit worky around to the new legendary sides, but onto the side of Gangstars, we see a double support coming through with Genos and Maldamba.
Genos Maldamba forcing the other team into maybe some off-meta healers, but Cryptic just gonna ignore healing for now, pick up Buck and Ash, make sure they have the damage online.
Yeah, especially with Gangstars, if they want to run a 3 support composition, that's where they Team Cryptic might actually fall low, because they won't have the viable supports that are really utilized around in this patch, and they might have to go with something like Pip, but we see Gangstars picking up Dianar and Fernando.
Both of these frontliners great at blocking doorways, particularly Inara. I like both of those. Team Cryptic gonna get their second frontliner in Torvald, and they're gonna round out their draft, make sure they get a healer in there. They're gonna pick up Saris. Last game, Goldex had a great game on Saris.
I agree there. The Saris was a huge workaround with the side of Team Cryptic, but over to the side of Gangstars, also to finish out this draft for them, a Maeve, something we haven't seen too much of today.
I like Maeve on this map. She brings the mobility, but more importantly, she can turn the lights off, and in these claustrophobic areas, that is huge.
Agreed there, and before we get into the game, we are actually going to go over to a short break while we queue ourselves up. We will see you guys back in just a minute.
Falling and I'm a whip, yeah. Out in fast, going hard in the pit, yeah. I still ball in the pitch, yeah. Something wrong with the picture. Something is wrong with the way, and I don't know why. Why you need to lie? Something is wrong with the way, and I don't know why. Why? How do you get by? Way longer than I'm used to. You started hanging with a new crew, talking to my friends like that's something that I'm used to. I never cashed else, I just wanted him to lose you. Damn, puffing on that bullshit Uncle Sam's. Who'd have thought that he would understand? And I just never fall out, I just wanna win. I'm in it for the long run, I do this on my fam. Something is wrong with the way, and I don't know why. Why you need to lie? Something is wrong with the way, and I don't know why.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into game number 2, Cryptic versus Gangstars. As we see here, we are joined by Unexceptional TV. And before we get into things, let's run down legendaries. So for the side of Team Cryptic, we find Music's taking the Thanked Grandpa for Torvald, Hayes onto the bulk up Buck, and over to Slugshot for Miss Ryan, onto the Ash Sizzy, onto the Just Breathe Scout for Cassie, and finally Mortal Reach for Goldex Saris.
Navron running Maldamba and Wakano's Curse, followed by Skosis, Street Justice, Maeve, Menschmeyer, Treacherous Ground, and Nara. Mad Ang, Scorch Fireball, Smutney, Binary Star.
And the damage is going to come through for Gangstars. We see them onto the aggressive push already into the backline. It seems like Ryan is caught out of position and is going to fall down onto the side. Team Cryptic has to actually get out of here and disengage from the team fight.
I mean, that's great news if you're the Gangstars. Getting Ash off the table early gives you a big window to push onto the point and start getting some early cap under your belt.
Especially with Maeve, who is such a viable pick for the side of Gangstars. And when it runs through and gets someone like Buck and onto the side, hey, Sizzy, we will find that Cryptic is going to fall one by one. But speaking of that, Skosis is already into the backline, picking up a lot of damage, but nobody's fallen just yet for Cryptic.
Did such a good job just surviving in that team fight. It's a shame that Maeve went down, though. But it doesn't matter. The Gangstar is going to go up 1-0 at under 2 minutes.
Able to take the objective at such an early time. Cryptic had no rebuttal against this payload push, and they couldn't even touch the objective. Even with these giant tanks, they just didn't have the health or the life over to the side of Cryptic. Excuse me.
Happens when Ash goes down that early. It messes up your whole team fight. It forces your team to back off and then try to regroup. And by the time you've regrouped, the Gangstars are already over 50%. And then you're forced into this like weird kind of desperate all-in rush. And I think the Gangstars saw it coming. They smelled it out. And now they're about 75% of the way pushed.
Yeah, with the push coming through, Gangstars, they still have a minute 40, and Convergence is going to be popped onto the back line, trying to go into the push. Cryptic has to follow up in some sort of way, but Hayes seems to be caught out by the treacherous ground. We find Menschmeiser, who's going to be caught out onto the left side, and now Gangstars are going to be onto the defense as Cryptic goes in with the aggressive push coming through.
Cryptic, sometimes you just got to show them that you're not scared, and they're showing them that now. It's Ryan playing aggressively, picking up Mad Ang a little bit ago, and this is what you want to see. Team Cryptic need to get off their back foot. They need to push forward. They need to shove the Gangstars off of the point just to buy themselves some time.
I agree there, and as we say that, Ryan is actually falling as going too aggressive, but we see a great setup ultimate by Musics, picking off a triple kill with the Hyper Beam. Hayes is going to pick up that 4th, and Cryptic are able to defend for now.
Triple kill Hyper Beam.
I don't know, they set up the position so well. Gangstars, I didn't even expect them to go that way, but Musics.
Seconds remaining.
My man.
Torvald looks like the nuttiest character in the game. Sometimes you see it and you're like, well, how is that allowed? Because when the stars align and you can push a team off the map,
Seconds remaining.
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, honestly, it is, and it's an underwhelming ultimate that people don't really take into account, and it's one of the most powerful at the same time when utilized correctly, and Ryan is going to get the first pick off. We see a collapse between heads, and Skokus gets a double kill. This is actually going in the favor of Gangstars as to get a triple pick off, and Cryptic is going to have to regroup onto this one.
Yeah, there's a slim chance that the Gangstars can push it, even though they're going to go deep into overtime to do it. Brightmarsh is not one of the longer payload pushes in the game. You don't need as much time to go from point A to point B as you do on other maps. And the Gangstars are really trying to convert this. They're trying to make it happen.
Midnight pops out, and it seems like nobody's going to be able to touch it as Dread Serpent stops everyone from getting onto this point. An amazing position ult by Nefron, who we saw as first amazing Drogos for the first few games, and now he's on to the Maldamba for support.
What an intelligent ultimate combination, really, between Skosis and Navron. Lights off, making sure that nobody can see, and then Navron with the, almost invisible Dread Serpent under those circumstances. There's just no way to be prepared for that. And when you're already that close to the point, I mean, that's guaranteeing it for yourself.
3.
Yeah, now it's into the favor of Gangstars. We do see Sizzy picking up the resilience and a lot of Cauterize 2 online for Cryptic, but in return, Gangstars are picking up as well their tier 2 items. We do see a damage coming out from Menschmeiser. She's gonna pop the gonna pop the seismic crash, and the rest of the team is gonna follow up. Cryptic is trying to go onto this aggressive side, but Gangstars are gonna be poked out one by one.
Yeah, Gangstars looking a lot more coordinated. That was a really good Immortal being used by Fernando, saving a lot of lives right there and winning Gangstars that team fight. Gangstars, though, not utilizing this win. They're not really capturing the point yet. They're just now over 10%.
Now, as they sit on it, Gangstars are going to be just going out and throwing up the pressure, but Maeve isn't alive at the moment, so if Team Cryptic collapse upon this, it seems like they might just get picked off one at a time, though the tanks are going on to aggressive stance, and we do see an engage coming through in just a second.
Gangstars doing their best to continue capping. They're really close at over 6.5 minutes. They're looking strong. Team Cryptic really needs to make a move right now.
Scosis is going to turn on the lights, and here we come. Midnight going to pop through, but Scout is also online, and that's going to be going through on to this point. We do see Convergence trying to round people up, but Goldex is not going to be able to get through as the wall actually stops Cryptic from touching this objective.
That's what Inara brings to the table. It doesn't matter how big your shields are or how mobile you are. You can't walk through a wall. And the wall is, it's nice and door sized. And so you put up the wall and you just shut down the aggression from that angle for the next couple seconds.
It is oddly perfectly placed in that doorway that nobody can get in or out of that objective.
That it's just tall enough so you can see over it and you can see yourself losing, but you can't squeeze through.
No, and that is the hardest part about taking Inara on this map, is dealing with the pressure, but also treacherous ground denies so much mobility from the side of Cryptic that getting onto this objective is so hard for them. And speaking of objective, it is now pushing over to the 75% mark at 1:30 remaining.
Yeah, right now the Gangstars are once again doing a really good job pushing. And I wanted to talk about this earlier, but Maeve is so good on this map because not only does she bring the mobility and that her damage doesn't fall off at a distance in these longer hallways, but
Hold that fight as we are going to get back into this. We find Immortal going to be popped out by Fernando, and the rest of the team is going to collapse down. Cryptic is going to be taken up one by one as Ryan is the next one to actually pick up a kill for herself, but it seems like she isn't going to survive even through the assert dominance. They're trying to touch this objective. Goldex is able to stick on it just for the time being, but it seems like they're doing everything they can. Convergence into the middle line, and Gangstars are actually dropping so low that they're going to fall onto the side. And Gangstars, surprisingly, aren't pushing this through.
Undies through time and space ultimate was so good. It just wasn't quite enough, although it did force out a lot of ultimates from Team Cryptic. But going back to my earlier point, Maeve, when she turns off the lights on a map like this, it's so disorienting because there are so many places to be shot from. When you can't see it, it's impossible to know exactly where the opponent is.
Yeah, especially when it's enclosed map and you can't make your way around each tight corridor or see who's around it. It's going to be huge, but Ryan moving in, getting a huge double kill, but falling in return, and the rest of Cryptic is going to follow up. Sizzy gets one, and Gangstars have to retreat away from this. If they touch this objective, I think they're just going to collapse.
Yeah, it looks like the Gangstars might have to give up this round, which hurts because they're so close, but they can't get it into overtime. Still up 3-1 though at 9.5 minutes.
Now, Cryptic, in return, they do have the comeback mechanic when it comes onto this objective. It just depends on how they're going to utilize it and work around this Inara, who's been walling off every single capture point and treacherous grounding the area so nobody can get in there.
Goldex, the level 3 morale boost on your support. Normally you see a lot of Chronos is just trying to get your cooldowns down as low as they can go so you can keep healing, but Goldex really wants to keep using this big team fight ultimate just and bring them into the black hole.
Especially with Gangstars not picking up any resilience at all. This is so essential that Goldex can stick them and lock them down into position for a long time. Speaking of locking them down, we do see Hayes moving onto the sideline and actually getting onto the backline. Menschmeiser is going to be taking up so much damage, but also allowing the lead to come through for aggression on the side of Gangstars.
What Inara does, Inara moves forward, Inara takes abilities, takes damage, just exists, and when you're trying to deal with Inara, all of a sudden flankers come flooding in behind, but Team Cryptic knows that plan. They've seen it before, and they're on the point now. They're trying to catch up a little bit. They're down a significant number.
They're holding out one at a time, and it seems like that's Mavron who's going to be caught out of position now onto the backline. Gangstars are going to be on the rebuttal. They're sitting here trying to look for some sort of opening, but yet don't have a field to come through. Menschmeiser is probably their last hope to touch this objective, but Hyper Beam will stop that Inara from even getting close.
Cryptic coming back 2-3 over 11 minutes, and I wasn't sure if it was a bird or a plane. But it turns out it was just Buck in the sky, slamming down on the back line, making sure that those healers are never comfortable. They can't move forward, and make sure that their frontliners are nice and healthy.
Menschmeiser going in with a defensive ultimate, though, onto the aggression, which doesn't make too much sense as they are sitting here, but it seems like they're just going to hold on and try to keep the aggression to pop through. As long as Cryptic can't actually get onto this objective and touch it, it will be huge for them, but it seems like, in return, Hayes is already onto the backline, and Music's picked up one for himself, going down as 3 fall.
Hayes has been playing out of their mind on Buck this game, looking so good. They're everywhere. Even Inara isn't safe in this 1v1. Bulking up, getting that health back. Buck, in combination with Torvald, can just be so hard to kill.
It is a very reputable pick, especially for a team that has such an aggressive stance. Well, as we see, the payload is going to be pushing through. It's on that halfway mark, and it has only a minute and 13 remaining for Cryptic. They have to lead in with some sort of ultimate here, but it seems like Buck's going to be caught on the sideline.
The Gangstars are putting up a good defense, and Team Cryptic is having a little bit of trouble engaging. They can't seem to figure out what angle they want to hit, what abilities they want to use, really even who should go first. After a really good point fight, they're looking a little bit disoriented.
And into the backline, we find Hayes and Sissy picking up 2 kills. Fernando seems to be overextended, and now that greed is going to get to him as Cryptic picks up 3. Now they're able to collapse onto the objective once again. It seems like this is going to be the pushback. And Gangstars, are they prepared to defend this point?
I would have shamed Fernando for being so far forward, but it took 3 players about 5 seconds to kill Fernando, and that's 5 seconds that those 3 players weren't pushing, and that's 5 seconds that the rest of the Gangstars can set up shop at their own base. So I think that might have been a strategy, and I think it might have worked, because with about 10 seconds left, the Gangstars they need to make something happen now.
And speaking of making something happen, Mad Ang is going to pop out the Immortal, trying to keep the objective and the team alive, but it's Ryan is already onto the backline. Skokes is going to be the first one to fall. Smutney and Menschmeiser are going to get 2 kills in return, and it seems like Saris is going to be the only one to touch. Goldex trying to stick onto this objective, not going to live for much longer though, as she was low going into that travel, and now coming out. Looks like Gangstars are going to defend this successfully.
Yeah, Smutney is on Genos is doing so much damage. Just a really good job coming out of the support. Really accurate ultimates. That 3 time and space is not easy to hit. It has a long, very visible channel time. But Smutney is seeing through the matrix and making them connect.
As we go over to the damage charts, we're actually looking at Cryptic leading in Sizzy with 134k damage and 99k for the side of Hayes. This is a big return that I didn't actually expect Cryptic to be leading up on, as Gangstars are 1 objective ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing a great job in these team fights recently. I want to know how much damage of that has just gone directly into Menschmeier. Menschmeier using the ultimate along with Genos, trying to make sure Gangstars, they want to end this. They want to end it now, and they're willing to burn ultimates to make it happen.
Though the 3 time and space doesn't connect, they are now going on to the aggressive stance, sitting onto that objective still, picking up 60%, but it seems like nobody's going to touch it at the moment. Musix goes in with Hyper Beam, able to pick up a 1, but only 1, and Sizzy in return, and Goldex are able to actually pick up more kills. Cryptic, it's turning back into their favor.
Fernando can't swim with all that armor on, but apparently he can fly. That Hyper Beam sending him into the drink. The Gangstars, they need to reform and re-aggress if they're going to end it now. They're still leading in point cap, but not for much longer. Team Cryptic are looking really intelligent. with their coordination, they are all on the same page.
They only have one ultimate online, but they are working together so nicely. Speaking of ultimates, that's going to be Dreadservant popped out into the back line, trying to disrupt this objective, and Gangstars are back onto the push. 90%, someone has to touch by Cryptic, and it seems like Sissy is going to pick up the first kill onto the starting fight, onto the second, and she's just moving around, barreling through the back line. Ryan is going to fall for Cryptic, but it's actually going back into their favor.
The payload.
Cryptic never says die. They're tied 3-3 at just over 16 minutes. They were down 3-1 not that long ago. They just keep capturing this point. They keep staying in it. Nation coming out of this team is really admirable. They have no quit in them.
It's all about the defense that comes through Gangstars now. They do have the time and space available, and ultimates are coming online relatively soon. It's just a matter of how they're going to defend this objective, as Cryptic is already pushing it past halfway point. Speaking of that, Assert Dominance is going to be popped out, and Convergence in return through time and space does find nobody and doesn't connect just yet, but it seems like onto the backline, Menschmeiser is going to be caught out of position and fall.
Yeah, Menschmeier getting 1v1 Buck. Does so much damage, as does Sizzy on this Cassie, making sure that taking the long way around. So they have a lot of buildings to protect that path. It's the safer way, even though it's a little bit longer. Normally, it's the other way around. You want to go directly. You want to get the damage in right now. But it looks like Sizzy is everywhere on this Cassie, pushing the front line, retreating to the back line, dealing that extra long-range damage to Gangstars. Looking like a brick wall at this moment after a very strong defense.
Just Breathe is a very versatile legendary, especially with Cassie's old play style of dodge roll has been shifted so much. And speaking of shifting, we are going to see Cryptic go in for another engage. If Midnight's popped out here, we might see a return of Cassie popping out her own scout.
Yeah, I mean, if at all possible, Maeve has to hold on to this Midnight ultimate until the very last moment. If you want to bait out Scout first, and really what you want to do is you want to not use it while defending if you can, because it's such a good point cap ultimate. It's just win a team fight when you're blind.
When the potential is there, they know how to utilize it, and I hope that Scosis sits onto that ultimate. But as we see, people are going to be going through the pressure. Cryptic is popping it out, and we both find Scout is going to be utilized in Convergence out of the backline, finds 3, and they are going to pick it up. Scout is barely wearing off on, and Midnight is going to come out from Scosis, but it does get denied as she runs back into base, and the rest of Gangstars are falling. The payload is so close to the Convergence.
They need to get on this payload right now,
oh, no.
or it's all over, and they will get the reverse sweep, the 3-1 into the 3-0. We're in overtime at 99% pushed, Absurd.
It's ticking down, and Scosis is already onto the back line. Gangstars have to sit onto this objective. It seems like they're going to pick up 2. Navron does pick up a 3rd, but in return, Sizzy picks up Navron, and still Cryptic falls, not able to pressure this point through and get it onto their side. They used a lot of ultimates.
Breathe for a second there. That's as close as it comes. I have no idea who's going to get this next point. What I do know is look at all the resiliences being built. 3 resiliences on the side of Team Cryptic and a level 2. And on the side of the Gangstars, we have 2 level 3 resiliences coming out of Menschmeier and Navron. Nobody wants to be crowd controlled anymore, and we have seen why.
The crowd control is a big step in this patch, especially if you can lock down one of those primary damage dealers. Then you will really lead a team fight into your favor. And speaking of leading, that's what Menschmeiser is going to do for his team. They're moving forward as we find a ultimate's going to come out, but Seismic Crash does not connect. It's Ryan is already caught out of position, but Menschmeiser actually goes down to Hayes, getting that shotgun buck into the backline. Gangstars are onto the defensive push now.
Got a little bloodthirsty right there. Started chasing kills after you missed the ultimate. And I understand it. I do it too. But at a high level, you just need to let that kill go, reposition, get back on the point, especially when you're a frontliner, because Team Cryptic is making the most out of that mistake, and they're catching up.
Ultimates are back online, and we find Ash asserting that dominance onto the front line. She is going to be sticking onto this objective. Into the side, Navron pops out the Dread Servant, able to pick up one in return. Smutny gets a second with that help, and it seems like Gangstars are actually taking this back into their control. 78%, 79, and it's going to be rising through time and space. Pops out, and it finds Goldex, who's caught in position. The only person able to touch at the last second is Musix, as overtime is going to be taken down. All they can do is sit there and hope they can touch that objective, but Gangstars hold it on and get that game number 2 for themselves.
Coming out of Navron and Smutny at the end there, both the healers picking up the damage, well used and executed ultimates to get the other team off the point. That's what you want to see. That was as clutch as it gets.
Excuse me.
Healing coming out of both of them. Smutny and Navron individually each healed more than Goldex did. It's real hard to overcome over 300,000 healing.
Wow. Smutny and Navron both stacking up higher than just one Goldex, and that's honestly, in my eyes, just amazing that two healers can output so much for their team and then shift the team fight into their favor so they actually win throughout this game, especially with a very aggressive Skosis who always was utilizing and moving onto the backline throughout these team fights.
Well, you know what? You can heal that much when Sizzy on Cassie is dealing over 200,000 damage. There's a lot of health missing there to replenish. I mean, 22, 6, and 16. Sizzy playing out of their minds this game, but it just wasn't quite enough. Gangstars, just all around good team effort.
Surprise there as Gangstars take the second game, and we need to move over to the next map draft, and that's going to be set up onto Frog Isle. Tell me about the bans you might see coming away into this map.
Long range damage dealers really thrive on Frog Isle. Mobile long range damage dealers, so you want to be able to have an escape because the map is so open. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Leanne. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shaolin, or maybe a Kinessa, now that her teleport is a little bit, or is now instant if you pick up that new legendary card. Snipers are always viable.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much Kinessa during the last two sets, and we did see it a lot during game or set number 1, but instead of just sitting here and speculating and thinking about what it could be, let's actually move over to the champion draft. Alright, for the first setup, we find Team Cryptic onto the blue side, taking away the Bomb King.
That's unsurprising. People are really afraid of Bomb King right now. Gangstar is going to take away Cassie. That is exactly the kind of character you want to ban in this situation, that great long-range damage plus mobility. But it leaves Makoa open.
Yeah, as you were saying, as Cassie is banned away, Makoa is a free pickup, and it seems like Team Cryptic is going to capitalize upon that. Take up the Makoa, and over to the side of Gangstars, they're going with that double healer composition once again.
Gangstars are a team that is great at picking a little off meta and sticking with it when it works. They don't panic. And this is their off meta pick, is the Maldaba and Genos, but Team Cryptic is going to answer back with their own Mave, and they're going to grab Ashe, so they already have two big frontliners.
And they stay calm and collected last game, and it actually won them through, and that's how they were able to get that return point. As we're looking over, they pick up the Shaolin into Inara this time.
They know they like Inara. On a map like Frog Isle, Inara brings a lot to the table. It's different from Brightmarsh. She's not blocking off entrances as much, but she's sticking on this open point where so much damage can freely rain down. You need someone big like her who can just soak all that damage forever. Team Cryptic gonna go back to Saris, but this time they're all gonna Grover.
Hey, Grover, we haven't seen any gameplay come through on Grover just yet, and Whirlwind and I guess the rest of his cards actually didn't receive too much of a nerf through this patch, so I'm surprised we haven't seen more gameplay coming out from him. And finally, onto the side of Gangsters, they pick up the Leon.
Good choice on the map. I'm a little worried because the Gangstars are missing that AoE damage, but they have a lot of direct damage and a lot of mobility.
I agreed there, and before we get into things, let's shoot over just to a break. It will be for a few minutes, and then we'll load up into game and get you right back in just a minute. Don't miss game number 3 of the finals. Let's jump right into it in just a second.
What's going on, champions? Just bringing you a quick update as to what's going on with map number 3. We're currently just waiting through a pause which happened at the start of one of the games due to a connection difficulty, so we should hopefully be back into game very shortly. Please do bear with us and we'll bring you updates as and when they come. In the meantime, sit back, relax, and enjoy the music. Hello and welcome back then, champions. It's with a bit of regret that I have to come and inform you that due to a bug with our replay system, it does appear that we cannot unfortunately bring you map number 3 of Frog Isle today on broadcast, for which I sincerely apologize for. We'll of course be conferring with the dev team following this to find out exactly what was going on to make sure that future occurrences of this don't happen for other online tournaments such as ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup. I do just want to let you know that the team that took the final map of Frog Isle was in fact Team Cryptic, and they took it in a 4-0 score. So it was actually a complete sweep. Now, I've got Unexceptional and I've got also Absurd on the mics with me. After the two games which you just saw, which were relatively close, did either of you expect a 4-0? Absurd, was that out of the blue for you?
It was very unexpected because the teams were back and forth at all points, and both teams had such great skill and playthrough that I was very excited to see this game. But sadly, as you mentioned, there was a little bit of an issue.
And how about you, Unexceptional as well? Was a 4-0 something which you could have seen on the cards, or did that kind of blindside you as well?
Any 4-0 at such a high level is always surprising. Every team is so good at both actual technical skill and strategy in the team comp and how you move. So anytime you get swept, it's always going to be a shock.
With that in mind, folks, I do just want to throw this up on screen. It was excuse me, that's actually the incorrect screen. That was, if I'm not mistaken, that was cup number 32, which was Gangstars having the winner screen right there. We'll get that updated to Team Cryptic in just a second. No, it's not rigged. No, Gangstars didn't actually win this. This is from December week 1, folks. You don't have to. I know exactly what's coming in Twitch chat right now. There you go. That's a funny way to spell Team Cryptic. And congratulations for Team Cryptic for what seemed like a well-fought battle. Gangstars obviously having made some roster changes recently. Didn't see Saucer at all this week. Not sure exactly what's going on there. We'll see if we can get comment from one of the Gangstars players a little bit later if that's something they want to discuss. Maybe they're just trying out other solutions. Maybe this is a sub week. Regardless, phenomenal play from both teams, and really I just want to stress the fact that they all seem to have gone ahead and embraced the new legendaries and the bound playstyle on OB64 in hand, and are trying out a lot of new things. We saw triple support, double support, single frontline, double frontline. Thank goodness no triple support, double frontline, or triple frontline double support, because I think those games would have gone on for, you know, an infinite amount of time. And a lot of especially like new playstyles with the Cassie and the Canasta as well. It makes me really excited to see what actually is going to happen in terms of the competitive meta as the scene matures around this patch a little bit and moving forward into future patches. Of course, my name has been Hi-Rez Vox. I was joined by Unexceptional and Absurd today. On the mic, you'll be seeing plenty of them in the future. And guys, before we go real fast, Unexceptional, starting with you, is there anywhere that people can find you on social media that if they want to keep up to date with what you're doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, you sure can. You can find me on Twitter at UnexceptionalTV or on Twitch just at Unexceptional.
Fantastic stuff. And Absurd, how about you?
I hate plugging in myself, but the one thing I want to put out there is probably my YouTube. There's a lot to talk about Paladins on there, and of course, discussions are always open for the public.
So that is The Absurd Gamer, if I'm not mistaken, is it?
Yes.
Fantastic stuff. And you can also find him on Twitter as well at The Absurd Gamer. I think there's 2 E's in the there, so you may have to do a little bit of searching, and I'll have links, of course, for those in future cups. Once again, you can find me on Twitter at Hi-Rez Vox, where you will find a screen full of, how can I say this in a polite manner? Silly posts, satire, and a lot of anime as well. So if you're a fan of that, then I guess there's some Paladins-related things going on, because there's something kind of important coming up, I guess. It's the... it's only the Paladins World Championship coming on at Hi-Rez Expo of 2018, January 4th to the 8th at the Cobb Adventure and Performing Energy and Performing Arts Center. I'm thinking Cobb Adventure Center. That sounds like a great outing for the day. No, the Cobb Energy and Performing Arts Center in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be a fantastic show. The Paladins World Championship group online play starts the day before on all social media platforms where we can stream videos, so make sure you check it out. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. I don't think we have anything going on Twitter, but hey, I could be wrong there. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled. We have just had brackets go out, if I'm not mistaken, as well, and you do not want to miss what is going on there. This is going to be the inaugural Paladins World Championship. Teams from all around the world heading through, qualified through the Paladins Global Series, the Paladins Premier League, and the Wildcard Qualifiers, and also the leagues which were going on in China as well. And I can't wait to see all of that action go down. Now, if you're interested in competing online and you want to get involved with ESL tournaments for the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup, head over to play.eslgaming.com/paladins to be able to sign up, get involved, and start competing. We've got the Paladins Global Series, which is ongoing as well, and also that is available to people all around the globe. You can find details on paladinsworld.com about how to sign up and get involved and start competing regardless of where your region is. And if you're a console player specifically, we do have the Console Wars returning after HRX, as we will have the Console Wars in fact returning with the top 2 teams on Xbox and PS4 from Europe and North America, going head-to-head in cross-platform play once again at Hi-Rez Expo, which I can't wait to see. From myself, Vox, from Unexceptional, and from Absurd, it's been a pleasure to commentate for you today, and we'll see you back all again next time. Have a fantastic holidays, and we'll see you all in the new year.
afraid, won't let you fall, girl. Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl.
Believe in you will get you round of applause. Alright. A pretty picture for the ones that are lost in life. But even dreamers have the power to save a friend. And I know you are afraid that you fail again. You can take it to the grave, but it doesn't end with you. You say you haven't been yourself for a long, long time. Barely awake and it is already on your mind. But even if you open up and it's all pretend, and I know you think it's worth every time you spend, you can take it to the grave, but it doesn't end with you.
Thank you.